a slight little bit of technical crap, but anyway. Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to our new thing that we're kicking off, the Everyfin Arena podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Stormscryer.
And I'm Walker.
I'm now really confused. For those of you who are not able to see what's going on here,
I'm not Stormscryer.
and Stormscryer's not Walker, but anyway, shit happens. Cool, right, so today we're going to talk through some of the arena changes which have been announced in the last week. So there's a lot of changes coming for that. We will then follow through with our inspirational quote, mind the bad pun, and then we'll end with reeling it in. Again, mind the bad quote. So what do we want to kick off with? Definitely arena changes. Which bit's closest to any of yous?
Start with everything changing.
Yeah?
Yep.
So, okay,
Yep.
Let's start with the change to standard then. So yeah, arena within the next week is going to change to standard. Which is going to be a massive change. Completely new meta.
Really big change.
Yeah, massively. It's going to be a completely new meta.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll be losing the GVG set.
A lot of 2-drops are going to rotate out.
A lot of two.
Bye to Curvestone.
A lot of mechs. Yeah.
And also a lot of death rattles.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. What else have we got changing with that then? So, we're going to see fewer 3-4 stat lines, which is going to be interesting. Well, when I say fewer 3-4 stat lines, you're going to lose Spider Tank, which is one of your very, very premium 3-drops, which leaves not a great deal in the way of 3-4 stat lines in the arena. Before the Year of the Mammoth changes, there's going to be stuff like Unearthed Raptor still going to exist for Rogue, Spellslinger for Mage, Fierce Monkey for Warrior, but then following that, you're literally going to have the Priest's Talent Priest, the Mage is going to have the Manic Soulcaster, which is an epic, which we'll get onto the sort of how they're going to be changing, how often rarities show up in a few. Bloodseal Cultist will be under Warrior, and Cloaked Huntress will be under the Hunter. So there's going to be very few 3-4s. And 3-4s obviously are so strong because they dominate all 2-drops, which in itself is massive. So it'll be interesting to see something like a 3-4 regularly showing up for a Hunter which can basically play a 3-drop, which is uncontested by any 2s, probably gets a chance to go face. Cool.
And also, as we will see later, Hunter is still pretty good in the 3 mana cost spot.
Yeah. We'll get onto that in a few. We'll go through all the cards. So that we're also going to see rarity distribution changes. So we're going to see fewer commons, more rares, more epics, and more legendaries. We haven't been given any numbers on that. So we've got no idea how many more rares, epics, and legendaries, but by the sound of it, you're going to be seeing rares as often as you're going to see commons, which at the moment you don't play around stuff very often at all. So that's going to give you, when there's a smaller card pool, you're going to start being able to play around cards, and we're going to have to add res to the cards that you regularly play around, and even epics, which it's very, like, you never play around a brawl from a warrior. You lose more games than you win playing around a brawl from a warrior, but that might well become something, which is going to be new, exciting. I'm pretty excited for it. So, yeah, in general, how are we feeling about the standard change for Arena?
I like it because I think that a change was necessary. The card pool was getting bigger and bigger, and not playing around stuff like potential board clears was most of the time the correct way to play.
Yeah.
Because of the dilution of the card pool, it was pretty unlikely for your opponent to have a certain card. And by playing around a certain card, you often made way worse plays than you could have done by just ignoring it and accepting the fact that if you're going to play into it, you lose. But if you don't, you're better off.
Yeah, there was very, very few cards you played around, wasn't there? Flame Strike was one of those things that it was always in your head, but then even there, it was generally pretty fine to play into Flame Strike. And you generally had to anyway for needing the tempo on board. It was just one of those things that you often couldn't afford to play around, and because you saw it so, well, it wasn't that rare, but it was not, it wasn't seen enough to make it worthy of playing around regularly. You played around it
Yeah.
if you could afford it, but if you couldn't afford it, you just totally disregard it and go, there. If he's got it, I lose. Fair enough. What are your thoughts on it?
You know my thoughts. I really don't like the idea of it. I think keep as many cards as possible and let people go. But that's just me. As soon as it changes, I'll completely have forgotten that it was what it used to be. So
I think your viewpoint is a viewpoint shared by a lot of people, though, isn't it? A lot of people are sad about seeing the wild cards rotating out, which in a way I am as well. But I think for the arena, it's really, really important that it does rotate. Because at the end of the day, you are going to end up with too many cards, and it's going to become a less competitive atmosphere. I know, like, there's a lot of people who just sort of play Arena for a bit of fun, to play with wild cards, and I can see that being a bit of an upset to them. But I think the more sort of competitive Arena players, people who are pushing for the leaderboards, or pushing for sort of decent win rates, are much going to prefer the changes, because it means that it brings a high level of skill to the Arena.
then why not do what they've done with ranked play? Have the two different sides.
I don't think we need to split the Arena community up, in all honesty. I think Arena communities... Go on, sorry, Boris.
I think the arena community is already small enough.
Yeah.
You can't afford to split them up, especially compared to the numbers of players who are playing ranked. So overall, I think that it will improve the experience the better players have, because it's gonna be more skill demanding. But on the other hand, it's also gonna improve the new player experience, because they don't have to memorize so many cards. They also just get to see the cards they're used to see from the ranked experience. I think it's gonna be a win-win situation.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And the other really interesting point is the fact that Ben Broad's come out already and said, if it doesn't work, guys, we'll just revert it. Which I think, at that point, nobody can really complain. It's an experiment. And if we like it, and generally the Arena community as a whole enjoys it, excellent, and it'll stay. If not, we've already had a promise from Blizzard. I'm not sure how much weight that carries, but we have had a promise from Blizzard saying, yeah, if we're not happy with it, we'll take it back and we'll try something else, which I think that's excellent. It's really nice. We've seen a lot from the developers recently. Fair enough, we've not actually seen changes put into place yet, but hopefully by the end of the week we will. But it's just lovely to see Arena actually being discussed by the devs and being told changes are coming in the very, very near future. So within a week, next time we do one of these, hopefully we'll have a completely different matter to talk about.
Yeah, and also, what's new? You get golden cards in Arena. Finally.
Yes.
Yay!
Yeah,
About
something
time.
that should have been there since the beginning of Arena, beginning of Hearthstone.
See, add that and just don't do anything else to Arena. Golden cards.
Yeah, I think you generally play Arena from the perspective as a sort of, I don't really care who wins. You see it as more of a tavern brawl experience, Arena, don't you?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, you see it's some fun.
Yeah.
Which I think is completely fair. And I think that's something
just a no change.
I think that's something which works really, really well with like sort of us when we're streaming and such, is the fact that we've got the perspective of somebody who really doesn't give that much of a care.
You've got the ogre in the corner that sometimes will go, if you do this play, it might work, and you go, wait a minute, that play's just genius. And
Well,
then the rest of the time, he just sits there going, this will be fun. No, Walker, don't do that. Okay.
Well, no, I think what you do is you bring the viewpoint of the more casual Arena player to us, which I think is great. It means that you're getting the perspectives from myself and Boris, obviously play a lot sort of more competitively in the competitive mindset. We push for the leaderboards and stuff like that, and you are quite happy tagging along, enjoying the ride. And if we go, okay, what pick do I want? And there's something which is completely crazy. Yeah, I want that. I want to play Mad Bomber because this looks fun, even though we've got 3 1-health minions on the board. But that's a completely valid viewpoint, because at the end of the day, Hearthstone's a game. It's for fun. So I think that it's really, really good to sort of, when we're discussing, because generally if you have stuff like podcasts, they're all going to be aimed towards higher level players who are willing to invest time watching something like this. But
you bring in the one that really don't care. They just kind of want to come along because you said play Mad Bomber on turn 2.
It's more you give the sort of, you give a completely different viewpoint, which fair enough you might see sort of online in Twitch chat on Reddit, but generally isn't discussed necessarily. Sort of when you're looking at higher level things, they go, no, every higher level player generally agrees that this is a good change, therefore it's right. Is it right? I don't know. I'm a higher level player, or I like to think I am, and I like this change. But
it's one of those things where it's probably just going to help benefit the higher level players.
And newer players, because they've got far fewer cards to learn as well.
But it's not so much about cards learning, it's about the cards being taken out, the cards that could quite happily change games. You drop a creeper on 2 and there's going to be people that have come along and you're going to mention that and they're going to go, drop a what on 2? You know what I mean? You can be like, a haunted creeper, you know what I mean? But stuff like that, when it gets taken away, it is going to be such a big miss, and people won't understand how defining they were when they came in. And yeah, fair dues, they are leaving behind, and the newer players come in, they don't know what they were, so they're not going to miss them. But they're not going to have that whole... The idea and the thought of going, oh wow, that's a really good card. Holy shit, that's fantastic on turn 2. You know what I mean? And playing it.
But at the same time, it's like looking at Constructed with the Undertaker. Everyone looks at Undertaker now and goes, yeah. And newer players will come in and not understand what an Undertaker was. And those who played during Undertaker Hunter know what an Undertaker was. It was absolutely horrible. So it's the same sort of thing. I think change is good, and people quite often oppose change, but I think it's definitely needed for Arena as it goes on. And if you look sort of by the end of the year, there'll be another 1,000 cards released.
It'll be a nice change. I'm just saying it's going to be a miss. It's going to be something where you're sitting there and you're going to have to completely change what you're looking for. And you can't really go, right, we need 2s. Like, we've needed 2s. No, now we need 2s. Like, there is no way around it. There's going to be so many more, but you're going to be struggling so much to get the 2s.
Yeah, there will be fewer 2s, but you will see sort of cards will be offered more often. But yeah, I do agree that there will be fewer 2s. But it's the same as any other meta, though, isn't it? A new expansion comes out, the meta changes. You adapt to the meta, and I think this is going to make it. It's going to make it much bigger, sort of a swing in the meta. When you have a new expansion released, because the expansion is going to make up a higher percentage of the card pool as a whole. I'm not sure how they'll do offering bonuses. They might well not now, because it's going to make so much of a difference. Yeah. But I think your metas are going to swing a lot more. Because if you look at sort of the most recent expansion, Mean Streets, that I don't think we ever had a confirmation of what the offering rate was, but I think it was about 50%. So like 150% offering bonus on those cards. But it made a bit of a difference, and you know the cards, but I don't think it made that big. Like, if you look back to, say, the release of GVG for Arena, that was far bigger, because you basically divided your whole card pool almost into 2. Well, you had another third sort of thing on, which were completely different cards. And I think that you'll get that feeling. Your new expansions will become more sort of meta-defining, which I think is great. And a meta which changes a lot, which you have to adapt to, I think is better as well. It gives you something new and exciting, so that keeps the game exciting for newer players, for older players, for higher level, for lower level. It's just something new and exciting, and the high level players again get to sort of fight and see how quickly they can adapt to the meta, how quickly they can make the reads which allow them to become a better player. So I think it sort of benefits all.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we jump right into the changes, what we'll expect of the changes in card rarity and also the distribution amongst minions and spells?
Yes,
because that's gonna have as big as an impact, if not a bigger one, than just changing the card pool.
I totally agree. Let's go into that. And just to preface that is to say that with the we've been told that we're having the rarity distribution changes. There's also going to be spell distribution change, so you're going to see spells more often as well, which I think that's going to change. I think some of the reasons cited by the developers were that it feels like it's very, very tempo heavy at the moment. And this, it means that with higher spells, there's generally more punishes to all sorts of different things. Going wide, there'll be more AoEs and such, which I think will just make it not quite as heavy sort of a tempo meta, which it's been Curse Stone, it's been Tempo Stone for so long. And that's just going to be something new and exciting. Right, so let's kick off. So we'll start with Hunter. So these are, what we've done is we've prepared a list of swing cards and powerful cards, which will be available which are currently available, and we'll see which ones are leaving, which ones are staying. So Hunter Mark's going to be staying.
Yeah.
It's a fairly decent card.
You'll see it more often as
Yep.
it's a spell.
Yep.
There's probably not too much to play around when you're playing a hunter, or when you're facing a hunter. But it's important to keep in mind that he's more likely to have a hunter's mark to remove a big taunt of yours than they did before.
Yeah, because your cards basically hard removals have been Hunter's Mark and Deadly Shot.
Yeah.
So, it's a hard removal which we're going to see more often. We've got Quick Shot. Quick Shot will be leaving us, and it'll be leaving instantly. No, sorry, it won't be leaving instantly. It'll be leaving with the Year of the Mammoth rotation. So
No. Right.
Yeah.
Quick Shot is Blackrock.
Yeah.
It
Quick
will
Shot's
be
Blackrock.
leaving us with the rotation.
Yes, so we've probably got another month, 6 weeks or so of Quick Shot existing.
So such a miss.
I was going to say that's the other thing we've got to look at is we've got two really quick sort of meta changes coming. We've got this meta change coming next week with the standard introduction. That's going to be massive. And then we're going to have new standard in probably March, April time. And then again, it's going to just kick out a hell of a lot of cards and introduce more cards, which again, because of the smaller card pool, are going to have a bigger effect on the meta. So we've got two big meta swings coming in the next 6 weeks or so, which I'm really, really excited about. Quick Shot is going to be Quick Shot. It's always been powerful, and for the next month or so, it's going to continue to be powerful, and it's going to continue to be seen. Although it's hard to work out how often we're going to see them, because with it being a common, you're going to see fewer commons. But with it being a spell, you're going to see more spells. So, because we haven't been given numbers, we're not 100% certain, but you're still going to see a fair amount of Quick Shots, and they're going to be powerful. Glaivesuka will be going instantly as soon as the changes hit. So, this is going to be a bit of a hit to Hunters.
Yeah, I mean, Glaivesuka was always a powerhouse for Hunter in the arena. It's basically the best Hunter card ever printed for Arena.
Yep.
And yeah, it's gonna be good for the game that Glaivesuka is not around.
Yeah, I think so as well. And we have Animal Companion. That's a spell, and we'll probably be seeing it just as often, if not more often.
Yeah, and it's one of those cards that help fill the 3 slot. Hunter always had Animal Companion.
Yeah.
And it always was a premium 3-drop because every outcome you could get was at least overstatted by 1 stat point.
Yeah.
Compared to other 3-drops. And with the neutral 3s like Spider Tank leaving, this is gonna be a premium card, which helps Hunter a lot.
Yeah. Again, it increases the chance that Hunter's going to have something on board in turn 3 as well. Because not only do you have the 3-cost minions, you've also got a spell, which we're going to see more often, which gives you a minion. Which, when a Hunter generally wants board, it's pretty good for them. Deadly Shot. Deadly Shot's going to be around again, so that'll form one of the 2 hard removals we've got for Hunters, which will likely be seen slightly more often as well. So Hunters are going to have a better way of dealing with... Well, they're going to have the same way of dealing with a single minion, but we're probably going to have it more often drafted.
Yep.
Eagle and Bow, again, that's going to be hanging around. It's a rare, which we're going to see rares about as often as commons, so we're going to see more Eagle Home Bows, almost without a doubt.
Yeah.
And it's not terrible at all. It's depending whether you draft secrets or not. You generally don't look at the secret synergy too often. If you get it, it's good. If not, it's a 3-mana Fiery War Axe, which we know
still is pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. We all know how powerful Fiery War Axe is, so it just gives them yet another way to remove stuff, and weapons are good.
Yeah, weapons are usually big tempo swings, because you just pay the mana once, and usually you do remove 2 minions with it.
Yeah, so it gives you a nice bit of card advantage from that as well. Power Shot is a TGT card, which means that it'll be staying for 6 weeks or so and rotating out with the Year of the Mammoth changes. So seeing more Power Shots is going to be fairly interesting, with it being a rare, being a spell. we're going to see
Yeah,
fairly
and
often.
a rare.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a card to play around. Like,
Yeah.
you still try to position around it now if you have the opportunity, but it's going to become a card to play around.
Can never really say I do. Like, I never think about power shot. I always think of explosive shot.
Yeah.
Power shot, it does cross my mind, but every so
It's
often.
probably because you play a lot of arena and it's a rare. You don't see it that
very
often.
rarely see it.
But
now you're going to be seeing it more.
Yeah.
And that's going to teach us very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, in the most cases, powered shot is just 1 mana less expensive consecration.
Yeah.
That doesn't hit the face though. But yeah, it's a very powerful card. And with the rarity changes and also the spell distribution changes, it's gonna be a card to keep in mind to play around.
Yeah, definitely. Just before I forget as well, what we'll do is we've got all the details here, what we're discussing, on a Excel sheet. So we will share the spreadsheet with you guys.
Excellent.
No. Sorry. Did you say excellent?
Yes.
Oh, mate. Yeah, so we'll share all this, and we'll make sure it's linked to wherever we put the video up as well, so that you've got access to all the cards which are rotating out, so you can sort of run through them in your own time as well.
A visual aid.
Yep. Doggies. Unleash the Hounds. So, again, common spell, so probably going to see it slightly more often.
Yep. With all those cards being spells, it's gonna be tough to find the right way to play against Hunter, because you definitely don't want to go too wide because of Unleash the Hounds and stuff like power shot.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you don't want to have a single big minion because of the deadly shot,
And also
which is gonna be challenging to find the right spot. How to keep your board alive and stuff.
Well, that's the thing is, of course, with the change in the meta, we're not 100% sure how stuff will change, but generally, you can still see Hunter being more of an aggressive class, looking at being wider. And if your opponent's got a few smaller minions on board, you generally want a few middle-sized or smaller minions on board yourself to contest it. If you have one big thing, they just ignore it and keep pushing face. So, when you are seeing sort of a higher number of these AoE sort of spells from a Hunter, it's going to make it fairly powerful, I think.
Yeah, I think Hunter is going to be one of the classes that will hugely benefit from the spell minion distribution change, because Hunter has so many powerful spells that allow him to play off the board.
Yeah.
If you compare it to Paladin or something like that, or Priest, which also does have a lot of powerful spells, they need the board for that. And most Hunter spells either give you a minion onto the board, or they just remove stuff from the board.
Yeah.
Which is going to be the catch-up thing that Hunter lacks right now.
Yeah. No,
I
absolutely.
think that's going to probably, for me, I reckon it's going to be number one after Secret of Ngoro.
Yeah.
I reckon it's going to be hard to beat it. It's going to be a lot of beasts. It's going to be fantastic.
Are you looking
It's
forward to
going
it?
to be. It's going to be where Hunter needs to have been from the start. Smoke, smoke, smoke with beasts.
This is coming from, like we discussed before, Walker, the casual play Hunter hit face player, which I think,
What else are you meant to do with Hunter? Your hero power is hit face, so your minions hit face.
Yeah, that's fair. So kill command, we're going to see more kill commands. Beast synergy, how does beast synergy change with the rotations?
Not that much.
No.
Most of your spells and stuff could also generate beasts.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan of Kill Command, because if it only deals 3 damage, it's kind of a mediocre card.
Yeah.
If you don't hit the synergy. But yeah, it's a card that gives you initiative. It's fast, and that's what you have to worry about. Just those swingy cards.
Yeah.
Without the beast, it's an alright quick shot.
It's an overcosted quick shot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's not. It's really not that great without beasts. But if you look at sort of your basic neutrals you've got, which they have said they want to see neutrals showing up less often, but still, you've got stuff like your River Croc, and you've got your Bloodfen Raptor. There's a good number of beasts in the classic set alone, so there should always be some sort of potential for synergy there. Multi-shot, again, it's another one of those cards which deals damage to multiple minions on the board. So
Yep.
you're sort of getting a feel that Hunter's going to have some sort of control-y mechanic. You might see sort of like aggro control style from Hunters more, with a good amount of removal, good amount of high-quality spells.
Yeah.
Be quite interesting. Dispatch Kodo is staying, with it being released just in Mean Streets.
I really enjoy the Dispatch Kodo. It's saved us so many times.
It's a really, really powerful card.
Yeah,
Damage
and
through is insane.
showing up more often as a rare is going to be a big push for Hunter.
Yeah.
And for Hunter rares in general, there's also the 4-mana 3/3 Wolf that spawns 2 1/1s,
The
which is
Infested
also which is also a rare and a beast.
Which
Yep.
spawns beasts as well.
It
Yeah.
does, yes, absolutely. So, 2 damage throw, which is something that Hunter's always happy with. It's something you used to play around. You used to play around a 2 damage swing all the time. Sort of in, like, before there was so many expansions, so many cards in Arena, you were playing around Dark Iron Dwarf, all these sort of 2 damage throws, which I think is going to come back again. You're going to start looking at sort of 2 damage swings more often. And because you used to play around it. Like now, I very rarely looking at a 2 damage swing and go, ooh, if he's got a Dark Iron Dwarf or stuffed here. Whereas it was something you always did. So it'll be interesting to see sort of what sort of natural sort of buffer you give yourself when you're feeling comfortable in a turn. Is it sort of 2 damage, 3 damage? But I think 2 damage is going to be quite a biggie, and it'll be nice to see sort of that return. It's something to play around more often, which is a benefit again to us. Explosive shots. So, a lot like the power shot, it's a rare, and it's an AoE for Hunter.
And also kind of a single target removal, though.
Yeah, it's that as well. So, it's a versatile card.
Yeah. And as a rare right now, you don't really play around it if you even if you can afford to play around explosive shot, you most of the time don't. Just the only consideration is how do I place my minions to avoid the 2 damage split on adjacent ones. But you never don't play a 5 health minion against a hunter by being just afraid of explosive shot.
Yeah. Savannah Highmane, it's a rare.
It's a rare. It's one of the best minions you could get.
Yep.
And
we'll be seeing more of them.
Yeah.
Yay.
That's really, really going to help Hunters. It's an insane card. And I think they cited that it was 78% of cards seen in Arena currently are common. And you still see Savannah Hyman to know how powerful they are. Seeing them more often is just going to give a Hunter that little bit of sort of top end which they want. Sort of, it's a powerful minion, it needs to be removed, and when it's removed, it's still annoying because there's still 4 damage on the board.
Yeah.
So, I think you might well get to the point now when you're playing a Hunter and you have to play around Savannah Hyman. So we shall see. It'll be interesting to see sort of what the distribution changes bring, but if you're seeing res far more often, Savannah Hyman may well become a player-on card.
Yeah.
Like, massively. So, that's a card that I've got on my radar, which has always been good, but I've got a feeling this is going to be an insane card, and like I say, to the level that you're going to have to play around it.
Yeah.
Gladiator's Longbow, an epic, and again, we're going to see more epics. So, Gladiator's Longbow, epics are something which we've never really discussed in Arena, because you see them very, very rarely, and they're just not worth playing around. You see them so rarely, you generally don't play around an epic, yeah?
No, you don't.
But now, depending on distribution changes, playing around epics might well become a thing. Not that you can easily play around Gladiator's Longbow at all, but it just adds an extra bit of power to the Hunter class.
Yep.
And then, following with the epics, we've got Call of the Wild. Again,
Yeah.
pretty
An
hard
epic.
to play around.
Yeah.
And the spell.
Seeing those cards more often is gonna be a big thing, because not only are they individually good cards, but they're both class cards in the same rarity. So you're pretty likely to find a good epic in Hunter, because two of your best class cards are epics, and in general, epics have, I wouldn't say lower quality, but they're way more situational cards, more like tech cards. and having 2 premium cards in the epics slot for a class is gonna be a really big deal.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. We were discussing this earlier. Is how often do you get offered 3 epic cards and go, I wish I could have just had commons offered. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You see it far too often. You go, oh, I don't really want any of these epics. Whereas, like you say, you're going to see more class cards, more spells. So if you trigger an epic offering, there's a really good chance you're going to see a really good card.
Yep.
Which is definitely going to strengthen the hunter there. So
Yep.
on to Shaman. So we've got Fork Lightning. It's common, so again, I think what we're assuming is that
less but more.
Yeah, what we're assuming is probably going to see them as often, this common spells, because they are having a reduced offering rate to the commons but an increased offering rate to spells.
Yeah.
So since we've got no numbers, do you think that's a fair assumption, Boris?
Yeah, I don't think that you'll probably see it slightly more often than now. I'm not generally not a fan of Forked Lightning because the 2 overload hits you so hard, and oftentimes in the later game when you don't care as much about the overload, just the 2 damage to 2 random enemy minions doesn't do enough to justify the card there.
Yeah, it's a very high commitment to pay, isn't it, early game? But it can be a powerful card sort of mid-game if you can afford it. But we shall see. Lightning Bolt is really, really good card. Again, I think a lot of the sort of a lot of the common spells we sort of already know how they feel, how they play, and if we're seeing them about as often, there's not necessarily a massive change about it. I don't think there's anything particularly of note to discuss, but it's just yet another card in the arsenal of the Shaman.
Yeah.
Evolve will be interesting seeing that more often.
Yeah, especially as a rare and a spell.
Yeah.
You're gonna see that more often, and it incentivizes you just resolving board states.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Not leaving damaged minions up, especially not ones like let's say Oasis Snapjaw or stuff that's generally understated. You don't want to clear it because you have to put very much damage into it just to kill it, which is very inefficient. But if they evolve into a 5 drop, that's going to be a big swing.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the other thing is when you're seeing sort of smaller minions, it might well be important if you're seeing stuff like the big time Racketeer. If you can, if at all possible even, try to ping off the 1-1. Because if you're going to see Evolve more often, that 1-1 is insane. That 1-1 is a 7 drop, plus the 6/6 body next to it, which is again going to hit another 7 drop. So I think they might be plays which just have to happen. Depending, of course, how often we see rares and spells, but with increased odds, that might well just become the standard line of play. You see a big time Racketeer, your first thought is, must get rid of that 1-1 because he's going to be a pain in the arse.
I kind of hope the accidentally kind of when they release it, they put both the increased chances sort of thing. So if it's a spell, it gets its increased chance. But then if it's a rare, it does as well. So that there is a chance that you can get full spell arena runs.
No, that is what's happening. Is that they're increasing the odds of rares and spells. So you'll see them far more often. They reckoned, I read a post earlier, which I believe was from one of the Blizzard developers, it might be in Ixar, was saying that they want it possible, if you so wish to draft that way, to potentially draft 50% of your deck of spells, which is a lot more than what you're offered now. Like, we've picked premium cards before in multiple classes, and you finish it with like 2-3 spells.
Yeah.
You laugh at Arcane Giant because you go, you barely ever get enough spells to make it cost less than 8 mana if you draw them all and play them all. Whereas that might well become a thing. Really might well become a thing. Stormcrack, so there's another removal. It's not terrible, but not great. But again, it's just another mediocre to good spell for Shaman.
Yep.
Lava Shock. Being a rare, we will see it. Oh wait, no, it's is it Blackrock? It is Blackrock. So we will see it more often temporarily for the next 6 weeks, and then we will not see it at all. So the same sort of point used with the rest of the rares is that It's not a terrible card.
The thing is with Lava Shark is you do get offered more spells, and almost all the shaman spells, which are removals, do have overload tag to it.
Yeah.
So right now, with the more plain minion to minion combat, even in Shaman, you don't see that many overload cards. But I think with the addition of more spells to your draft, this is going to be a thing that you do want to unlock your overloaded mana crystals.
Yeah, so potentially fairly powerful for the next 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Stormforged Axe has always been fairly decent card, fairly premium. It's a weapon in Arena. It'll be interesting to see whether weapons take much of a hit, because weapons we know are super powerful. But if you're looking at more spell-based sort of decks, weapons might not be quite as important. They're still going to be important. But we do know that Blizzard's come out and said that they want to be less tempo-based, and the reason that weapons are so strong is because of the tempo advantage. But I think even if you massively reduce how tempo-based Arena is, a weapon's still going to generate enough tempo that it's going to be a powerful card. Like, without a doubt.
Yeah, and especially in Shaman, if you do get more spells like Lightning Bolt, Stormquake, and stuff like that, the last charge of the Stormforged Axe is still gonna help you kill something in the mid game with a spell.
Alright, just goes face.
Yeah.
If you've got a lot of burn. Crackle will be rotating out instantly, so that is a loss for Shaman. Although I think a lot of players don't love Crackle because of the massive RNG on it.
I generally hate it.
Yeah, I'm the same. Do I overload with a chance of dealing 3 damage? I hate, that sort of number. It's the same thing as Implosion, but Implosion is extremely good. You still hate playing the Implosion because you go, if I roll low, you can just win or lose a game on your roll there.
Yeah.
And Crackle is one of those cards which, if it rolls low, is really, really poor. At least with Implosion, dealing 2 damage, getting 2 imps for 4 mana, it's alright. But I still hate it. But Crackle, I'm totally with you. I'm not going to miss it. I'm not going to miss having to pick it and then hoping.
I love Crackle.
Yeah, of course, because like we discussed before, you like the whole orangey and sort of putting the whole game on the line of one card.
Yeah, but the vast majority of the time, if you Crackle something, if you do roll low, you can trade it still anyway. You're still bottom end hitting a 3. And to be fair, when Crackle goes face, it's probably going to hit the 6. So
well, it's not probably going to hit the 6.
I know. Yeah, sorry, definitely hit the 6.
No, but I think you can agree from a high level perspective that, or like cards like this with the RNG in them are generally not favoured because you overpay for bottom end, and if you want to sort of be safe, you don't like. I'm struggling to articulate it, but you don't want to have to take the risk for so much damage, basically.
Yep.
Because you can completely win or lose a game on a single card.
Still 6 face.
Okay, next one. Jade
Yep.
Claws.
Jade Claws.
It's rare. It's a weapon.
Yep. It's rare. It's a weapon. We'll be seeing it more often. It's Jade. And Jade's not something we've discussed yet. We're going to see more Jade in Arena. Simply, we're going to see more Jade in Arena. A lot of Jade comes from spells. So you're going to pick up a lot more spells. There is obviously, what have we got rare-wise Jade? We've got Jade. There's a fair amount of rare Jade cards. So seeing those more often is going to be more Jadey. Yeah. I think it's a lot sort of, if you listen to the Lightforge podcast and stuff like that, they discussed how insane Jade could potentially be. But we didn't know what the offering bonuses were going to be at the time of the Mean Streets release, and they were nowhere near as high as anybody anticipated. This sort of just puts the offering bonuses onto the cards which have got the Jade on. So that'll be quite interesting to see.
Yep.
Devolve.
Get rid of those pesky taunts.
Yeah, it helps Shaman a lot with the increase of small to medium-sized AoEs.
Yep.
And it also clears death rattles and stuff. But it's not a not a card to play around though.
No, I don't think it's a particularly great card, but we're going to see it more often. You are going to pick it at times.
Yep.
So it'll be fun thing anyway. Maelstrom is a pretty damn powerful card.
Yeah, and
Really
this is going to
powerful
be
card.
a big deal. Having a cheap AOE spell. You do have the option to roll the extra spell damage on your totem. Maelstrom Portal is gonna be an insanely dominating card, and definitely a card to keep in mind to play around, not to leave your board at low health.
Yeah.
You don't see it very often in Arena these days, but as a rare and a spell getting pushed up in the offering bonus, this will change a lot.
Yeah,
how you play against a shaman.
I totally agree. This is one of the cards that we've identified now as, yeah, it's going to be a card to play around. It's going to be a powerhouse in Arena.
Yeah.
Totem Golem will be staying for 6 weeks or so. The 3/4 stat line is going to be really interesting on Totem Golem for the next 6 weeks. See, with losing the Spider Tank, and we discussed before how strong the 3/4 stat line is on turn 3, Totem Golem is going to be pretty. It's already pretty good, but it's going to be really quite powerful. A thing that a lot of people cite with Totem Golem is that you basically, if you play it on turn 2, you get your 3-drop out of turn early, but then you're playing a 2-drop next turn, so it doesn't actually give you that much of a swing. But when you don't see very many 3/4s, I think there's a potential of a really, really good play there.
Yep.
Flame Tongue is a Flame Tongue. It is good and will continue to be good. We will see it less often than we see it now, but there's going to be a smaller card pool, so it's hard to sort of hard to determine how often we're going to see these cards. We're going to see class cards more often. We're going to see commons less often, and there's going to be a smaller card pool. So probably looking at seeing it about the same as what we see it now, but it's always going to be one of those cards which is just super powerful.
Yep.
Feral Spirit, we're going to see this more often.
Yeah, way more often.
Yep.
And also the thing with Feral Spirit is you do have great synergy with Evolve, which you'll probably also see more often.
Yeah, that's true. And when we're seeing an offering bonus as well to the other rare spells, so you're seeing stuff like Lava Shock, that'll be quite interesting to see if you're picking up a lot of Overload. But again, we're only going to see Lava Shock for the next 6 weeks or so, whereas we'll be seeing Feral Spirit for forever.
Yep. Feral Spirit also helps Shaman with their 3-mana slot, because the Unbound Elemental will hugely benefit from the more spells distribution change,
with the
along with the removing a lot of 3-drops from the game. It's gonna become a premium one because you're more likely to follow it up with Overload card.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Lava Burst, again, a rare spell, so we'll be seeing this more often. It's pretty good removal. It's obviously high on the Overload thing, but it's again, I think you quite often do look at Shaman even now and go, he might well have a lot of sort of burn in his hand. But I think Shaman picking up burn, especially for the next 6 weeks, if not even sort of going into the Mammoth changes, Shaman picking up burn is going to be something you're going to see a lot more often again.
I mean, against Shaman, you generally play around more like 3 damage that come instantly, like a fire elemental, a lightning bolt, those common cards. But you never play around Lava Burst, and also when thinking about how much reach might my opponent have when you switch to going face instead of clearing his board. This is a thing to keep in mind, that he's more likely to have 5 additional damage to your face.
Yep. Lightning Storm. This is a biggie.
This is probably the biggest thing for Shaman.
Well, yeah, alongside the Maelstrom Portal. Maelstrom Portal and Lightning Storm. 2 rares, 2 AoEs, both seeing increases to offering bonus. Shaman is going to be able to deal with wider boards much easier than it does quite well at the moment. Which, it's going to be a massive play around. Yeah. So you're going to constantly have to be aware that there is a Maelstrom Portal, or there's the potential of a Maelstrom Portal, a Lightning Storm, and add a spell damage totem in there. and stuff's going to get a lot of damage AoE pretty quickly, and you're going to see it a lot more often. So you're going to see a lot more AoE control from a shaman.
Yeah. Right now, when I'm playing against a shaman, I most of the time ignore the existence of Lightning Storm
you
just because
overextend.
it's a rare. Yeah.
Yeah, and you generally not punished by ignoring res with the arena at the moment. Power Mace will be going instantly within the next week, so that is a loss to Shaman. It's a half decent weapon, but it's still got other weapons which you can pick up. So, as much as it's a loss, I don't think it's going to break them at all.
No,
but losing
definitely
weapon
not.
hurts.
Especially not with the other changes we'll mention soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elemental Destruction, it's an AoE, which we're going to see more often again, but it comes at a very, very high cost. I think Elemental Destruction is still going to be something you don't really play around because it generally messes up your opponent so much on their turn that unless they get an insane swing from it, they generally don't come back. But
Yep.
I think it's still worth keeping in mind that is possible, but it's nowhere near as powerful as the likes of Lightning Storm and Maelstrom Portal.
Yep.
Charged Hammer, however, for the next 6 weeks or so before the Mammoth, is a pretty good weapon.
Yep.
So we'll see a few more of those. But again, I don't think it's going to change a great deal. It gives an extra bit of power. Doomhammer, even. We're going to see a lot more of these.
Yeah,
I love
and
that
this
weapon
is a
too.
big one.
Yeah.
Big change.
Yeah, absolutely. And
This-
again, it's crowd control, and it's face.
And again, this is like the hunter thing we discussed earlier. With having good cards in the epic slot will help a class a lot if epics are offered more often, because most of the neutral ones are shit. You still have the offering bonus for the class cards, so you'll quite likely see 2 class cards offered and 1 neutral in the epic slot.
Yeah.
And Shaman does have amazing epic cards. Not only the Doomhammer. If you jump to the next card here, you'll see there's Hammer of Twilight, which also provides huge tempo swings as a weapon.
Yeah.
And even you can jump to the next one, which is also gonna be an epic. Earth Elemental, a massive tempo swing if you drop it on curve.
Yeah.
Although with the addition of more spells over all classes, it's more likely to be dealt with.
Yeah. But yeah, like you say, epic offerings now for Shaman are going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Really quite good. Thunderbluff Valiant, we're going to see again for another 6 weeks. It's a pretty good card.
I think that would be a very big miss on Shaman. I think it's...
But it's a rare, so it's not something we've massively experienced. I think the common's going to be more of a miss.
But when you get one, and you know it.
Hey, it might be more of a miss in 6 weeks' time when we've had a lot of them. Because we're going to see them more often for a while, which makes it more and more important to clear your opponent's totems for the next 6 weeks. In this sort of what's the right term for it? This mid-meta, this weird sort of meta, which...
Limbo.
It is. It's kind of like a 6-week period of just a mini-meta. In this mini-meta, clearing Shaman's totems is going to be pretty important, especially considering the fact that if you're not clearing the spell damage, then, like we discussed just a moment ago, there's a lot of AoE. And if the spell damage isn't on board, you're increasing the chance of it being drawn, of it being rolled, and then doing more damage that way. So totems are going to be something that you've always half considered with Shaman, but you're going to consider them a lot more and try to remove them as often as you can.
Yep.
And the other factors that we have evolve as well. Bloodlust, I don't think it's going to change a great deal. We'll see it as often as we see it. What do you think of Bloodlust, Boris?
Not a huge fan. It can give you reach. It usually isn't that swingy because you're already aiming at clearing your opponent's board when you're playing against a shaman. So not a fan because most of the time you're just getting +6 attack out of it.
Yeah.
And if you get more attack, you're probably winning anyway.
And I think the thing was, with fewer 2-drops and stuff like that, and your 3-drops not being quite as tanky, maintaining sort of like a snowbally effect, and it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Which is generally where Bloodlust can come in useful as a finisher, and decks which can snowball quickly and finish with a Bloodlust. If you're seeing fewer 2s, you're curving out less. Your 3s aren't quite as... well, you're seeing fewer 3s and they're not quite as strong. Generally got lower health. So I think it is going to be harder to snowball a board, and then it'll make the use of Bloodlust pretty difficult, which it already is anyway.
Yep.
Cool. Right. Warlock. So Soulfire is still going to be around. It'll be a Soulfire. Still pretty alright, pretty good.
Yep.
Power Overwhelming is going. That will be rotating out with the Year of the Mammoth changes, so we will have it until the next expansion. It's going to continue to do Power Overwhelming stuff. We will see it as often, slightly more often. It's going to be pretty good.
Yep.
Dark Bomb will be leaving instantly within the next week. Dark Bomb's a really, really good card.
Yeah, it's a kick in the nuts.
It's generally close to an auto pick, I would say, Dark Bomb. Or fairly often, anyway.
Really often.
Yeah, so premium removal, which Warlock will be losing. Dark Peddler is something which will be staying until the Year of the Mammoth changes, and then going. Dark Peddler is another really, really premium card. So
it's a common though. You'll see less peddlers than you did do
true.
now.
For the next 6 weeks, and then none at all. Shadow Bolt, we will see probably about as often, slightly more often, and it's going to continue to do what it always has done, is be 4 damage removal on turn 3, which is fine.
Yep.
Demon Wrath. Right, this is a biggie. It is only going to stay until Year of the Mammoth changes, but like we just discussed about AoE becoming more common, we're going to see more Demon Wraths. It's going to become a card that you'll start playing around for the next 6 weeks.
Which you don't right now,
no.
Because it's a rare and a spell. I mean, you do play around spells, but you don't do play around rare spells right now.
Yeah.
And Demon Wrath is gonna be a thing to keep in mind, which is gonna be really tricky to play against a Warlock with having 2 damage AoE on turn 3. Yeah. Having a 3 damage AoE possible on turn 4, and
And this is another thing, is that Warlock's board players at the moment are symmetrical, and this is an asymmetrical one. So at the moment, you do quite often look and say, you play around Hellfire effects in Warlock, because especially with Abyssal Enforcer, that's pushing them, and you've always got Hellfire on the mind. But you quite often look at the board state and go, well, if he Hellfires, he's losing this minion, this minion, this minion anyway, he's going to struggle to build a board. We don't play around Hellfire. Now you do have to play around AoE, because it doesn't remove his board.
I do quite often lie awake at night with Hellfire on the mind. Just tossing it in and like, oh, he's going to play Hellfire? He's going to play Hellfire.
Fair enough. Each to our own. But it's going to be definitely something to play around, and something to bear in mind that as much as you have played around AoE in Warlock, which has been Hellfire-like effects, Hellfire, Fellfire, this will not remove your opponent's board, or may well not remove your opponent's board if they've got demons on board. So it's just an extra consideration when you're playing against a Warlock.
Yeah.
Spread Madness shouldn't change a great deal. You'll see it more often. Still pretty bad.
I kind of like it, because oftentimes if you play it in the early game, it kind of does the same thing as a Hellfire does.
Okay, yeah, I suppose that's fair enough. Yeah, it's one of those cards which is very, very random, though. And
yeah, it is.
It's very situational.
Yep.
Imp Gang Boss. So this will be seen less often up until the Mammoth, and then not at all.
And that's going to be a big loss for Warlock. It's
really
basically the best Warlock card out there.
Yeah, I tend to agree. If not the best, then certainly one of the top few. No, very, very good card. So that's going to be going. Shadow Flame. We'll be seeing more Shadow Flames.
Yay!
There's another removal, which is asymmetrical for a Warlock. So, are we seeing a common theme here? That classes are getting better at dealing with wide boards. This is going to
Yeah.
punish wide boards more and more. So these we just discussed before about snowballing and building a big board. So many more answers to that now. So many more answers to
But then,
that.
obviously, they're wanting it less tempo, they're wanting it more spells, so you're probably not going to be seeing as bigger boards as what you're used to anyway.
Yes, but I'm saying that's something to keep in mind for classes which play style is generally going wider. Or when you're drafting. Going wider is going to be less effective when the changes hit than what it is now. Or it's easier to punish it, definitely. So, yep, Shadow Flame, really powerful card. Bear in mind that it's always potentially going to be in your opponent's hand. Hellfire, we know Hellfire. I don't think there's much really to discuss other than the fact you might see it slightly more often. But we're all very used to the Hellfire effect at the moment.
Yep.
Yep. Implosion will be leaving within the next week. That's a bit of a loss because it's a
I
really
think it's a
premium card.
really good thing that Implosion is leaving the
I
arena,
agree. Same as Crackle.
because it's too
But
swingy. It's a very badly designed card,
Yeah.
because the additional damage giving you additional bodies on the board, that's not a good design.
If you
If I
win,
would
you
have
win
this
more.
designed the card, I would have made the imps sort of compensation for
The reduced damage.
lacking damage.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like the other way around. If you do 4 damage, you only get 1 imp.
Yes, do like the inverse.
Yeah.
Of yeah, I think that would have been a far better design card. But hey, it's going. It will be gone within the next week. Goodbye, Implosion. Blast Crystal Potion. We'll be seeing this potentially slightly more often. And we all know Blast Crystal Potion. Anyone who's playing in the arena at the moment knows what a Warlock is, without a doubt. We know what Warlocks are, we know what they do, and they're going to have Blast Crystal Potions.
Yep.
Yep.
And we'll continue to have them.
Yep. Pit Lord, you will see slightly more often offered, because you're going to see, well, probably if fair, you're going to see it fairly more often than what you do now, which at the minute is never. How often you'll draft it, I'm not sure. It's quite a swingy
Probably
card.
not.
But
If you play it on curve, it dominates everything that's on the board at that time.
Yeah.
But with the increased amount of spells, and a lot of spells also
Damaging your face.
hitting your face and stuff like that, you probably don't want to draft it and deal those extra 5 damage to your face.
Yeah. Which means, like the argument we made before about the increase in epics, is that this is an epic which will show up fairly often when epics are offered. So it's potentially going to reduce the quality of your epic draws, because you'll see this and go, I don't want it. And that's one of your 3 slots offered for an epic gone. So I think epic offers in Warlock may not be quite as sort of incredible as other classes. Crystal Weaver is going to be seen less often than it is now, being both a common and a minion, but it is a class card. But yeah, you're going to see fewer Crystal Weavers, which...
It's also getting weaker with the Implosion leaving, and
Gang Boss.
later on the Imp Gang Boss,
Yeah.
which both hugely benefit from Crystal Weaver right now.
Yeah.
Imp Gang Boss on board going into Crystal Weaver can give you so much value, because you can decide, do I need the 1 extra damage right now to kill a minion, or can I afford to just kill a minion with my 2/4 and then buff it to a 3/3 afterwards, and also buff the 1/1 I got from it.
Yeah. It's still going to continue to be a great card, though. It's
Yeah.
a Lost Tall Strider stat line with an upside.
With an upside, yeah,
And
exactly.
In this meta, it'll be interesting to see how it changes in the next meta, but in this meta, you fairly often take a Lost Tall Strider and you're not upset about it. So taking the Crystal Weaver is definitely not something you're upset about at all.
Yeah,
Being a
agreed.
Doom. We will see more of these.
It's a spell. It's
a
an
spell.
epic.
It's an epic. It's okay, but not that great. There's a lot of RNG in it. So, again, it's another fairly weak epic, which you're going to see offered a fair amount more for the Warlock.
Yeah, but it's one you take over a Pit Lord.
It is, that is true,
Probably.
that is true.
Yeah.
Demon Heart.
It's leaving immediately.
Yep. Little more to say than it's going. Karakazam. It's a spell, you'll see it slightly more often. It's fairly decent. It gives you a wide board, which most classes deal with a wide board fairly well now.
Yeah.
But I still don't think it's terrible at all.
No, it helps you yourself set up AoE clears.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
Yeah. Doomguard, we'll be seeing more Doomguards being rare.
Yeah, Doomguard usually is a huge tempo swing
is.
if you play it and on curve, and most of the time right now it's not something you play around. You always have it in mind when there's a Void Caller on the board, but usually you don't expect him to drop a Doomguard from that. More likely a Dread Infernal or another big demon that doesn't have initiative.
Yeah.
And the Doomguard having the initiative of hitting face and or clearing board is going to be a big deal, and it's going to be interesting to see how the game develops if there are more Doomguards in Warlocks.
Yeah, I don't see there being more Doom. It's going to be offered more often, without a doubt. There's going to be more offerings. It's whether they're taken. But yeah, I think it might well become something that you have to. Well, you are going to have to consider it when you're doing calculations. How much reach can the Warlock have?
Yeah.
And now that's a 5, which has got a good chance of being there. Dark Bargain will be staying with us for 6 or so weeks. We will see it offered more often. I don't think it's massively strong. It can do nice things to a board, but it's fairly situational and costs you 2 cards. Or 3 cards.
Yeah.
So, yet another lackluster epic for the Warlock. So we're seeing a bit of a theme here, aren't we? Warlock, lackluster epics, all offered more often.
That might change with the cards that are still coming for Warlock and in that spot. Yeah. Siphon Soul, this is a big one. Heart removal spell, which is rare, getting offered more often.
Yeah, massive. So there's yet another hard removal for, a second hard removal for Warlock. But we're going to see them both fairly often, which I think's, added to.
And with the style of Warlock right now, with hitting your face so often, oftentimes you can afford to pick a Siphon Soul as a hard removal. You can afford the loss of tempo over Blast Crystal Potion just because you get the 3 health back.
Yeah, and you're more comfortable using it earlier as well. You can use a Siphon Soul on turn 6 and 7 and not feel quite as punished as using the Blast Crystal, especially if it's going to push your power cards a turn back. You can Siphon Soul on 6 in order to still be able to use an Enforcer on 7, which if you use a Blast Crystal on 6, obviously that ruins your potential next turn play.
Yeah.
Fellfire Potion, we're going to see this more often as well.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a great deal to say, other than we'll see it more often. It does a lot of damage. We know how the Fellfire acts.
I was going to say, here's know what it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've all seen a lot of Fellfires. We're going to see more of them.
Yay.
Dread Infernals, probably going to see fewer of.
Yeah, probably.
So, but I don't think... you don't think a great deal of Dread Infernals because it's the Enforcer that everybody knows now. Dread Infernal is something you played around a lot more in the past. But, again, it's one of those cards that you don't play around very often.
I mean, you kind of do by default, because of you don't want to give your opponent a mortal coil.
Yes.
But in general, you don't do it as often as you say play like when you play a mage. You're always considering that one extra damage he gets from his hero power for free, and against the warlock, you most of the time don't. Besides, if you go into turn 6 and you look at your board, it's definitely something to consider, and it has been like that forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cabal Trafficker, this is going to be a big one. So we're talking about lackluster epics for Warlock. Here's one which is certainly not lackluster.
No, it's one of the best value cards in Arena, I think.
What, he's just jumped in the chat asking if we're still talking. We're still talking, yes.
Yes.
So yeah, Trafficker's going to be a pretty good card for Warlock, which is nice to see something decent in their epic slot. Abyssal Enforcer, we know these.
Yeah, but we'll see fewer of these.
Yeah.
Because not only is it a minion and a common, Blizzard also announced that the offering rate of this specific
reduced
card
by
will be lowered.
50%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to see a lot fewer Abyssal Enforcers. So that's going to be
Good.
Yeah, I think it probably will be good because they're dominating the meta at the moment, and yeah, it's what Warlock's very well known for. Twisted Nether, we're going to see more Twisted Nethers, being an epic and a spell. So Twisted Nether I'd never see as that great a spell anyway. It can be really powerful, but it costs you a whole turn to do the removal. But it's something to have as a consideration anyway, is that it's more likely to exist.
Yep.
Doom. Doom is a lot more swingy. Doom is a lot more swingy because it does the same thing as Twisted Nether. It still takes you full turn, but it draws you potentially a shed load of cards. So seeing more Dooms is going to be interesting. I don't know if it's a card you can play around very easily. It's a card you certainly don't play around now. But it'll be interesting to see with the offering rates whether you do have to start playing around it. But I think that remains to be seen. That'll totally depend on the offering bonuses. I hope we don't have a world where you have to consider playing around Doom, because that's basically like playing around Deathwing.
Yeah.
So we'll blast through the basic ones fairly quickly because we know what they are anyway. So Whirlwind, you'll be seeing about as often, slightly more.
I'll have to answer the doorbell. I'll be right back.
No problem at all.
It's me.
So we have Revenge, which will be rotating out with the other Mammoth changes. So you're going to see more Revenge, which is more AoE for a warrior, which will be, again, quite... We're seeing the common theme, is that as soon as these updates hit, we're going to see more AoE for all classes.
Yeah.
All classes that we discussed so far have got more AoE offered. So playing around AoE, being punished for having wider boards and overextending is definitely going to be something we're going to see more often. Shield Slam is going to be offered more often, but you generally don't have a great deal of armor and armor gain effects in the arena, and you generally don't want to use a hero power. So it's going to be a weak card, which is going to fill your epic offering slot. Upgrade is fairly decent card, and we're going to see it more often. Mm-hmm. It's basically a Rusty Hook, and we know how good Rusty Hook is, how good the Light's Justice is. With a potentially slower tempo meta and being less dominated by tempo, weapons might not be quite as important, but they're always going to be insane.
Yeah.
They're always going to be insane because there's just great tempo swings you can make. Playing around turn 10 cards as Superdor. I know. Say that word, hook. Hook. Do I say hook weird? Hook? I don't know. Blood Ica, or Ica. You very, very, very rarely see this in Arena. And it's one of those cards which... It's not great, but it's alright. It's going to be offered more often. Yeah. You will draft them, and you will take them. So, it's a card you're going to see more often. Nazar's First Mate.
What does it do?
It equips a 1/3 Rusty Hook. Rusty Hook.
Yuck.
So yeah, we're going to see fewer Nazar's First Mates.
But you're going to see more
warrior class cards as a whole, yeah. But like we say, we're going to see more upgrades, so it's still going to be a fairly decent card. You're still going to see it often enough for it to be good. Fiery Wind Axe is not a spell. It is a basic, and it's part of the warrior's arsenal. We're going to see fewer of them. So that's
about time.
I was going to say that's not something I'm upset about seeing fewer Fiery War Axes. But it'll be interesting to see where Warrior goes, because Warrior might well struggle without the weapons. At the minute, it's had to be quite fast. But Warrior's always been one of those classes which sort of it wants to be dominating, and then just smashing face with its weapons. It's quite a high sort of tempo swing class with its weapons. So seeing fewer weapons in Warrior will be quite interesting, because at the moment they're the premium thing you draft. You draft weapons.
Yeah.
So not quite sure how that's going to change Warrior exactly. Cleave, we know Cleave. You're going to see slightly more Cleaves.
Yep.
Which again is sort of a wider board effect. So it's another addition to a wider board effect. Execute, you're going to see that more often. It's a fairly good card. Not as good as when it was 1 mana, but still pretty good. Welcome back, Boris.
Yeah.
So we've just been running through Warrior. We've just discussed that you're going to see fewer weapons.
Yeah, but
Which
the
is-
thing with execute is, with revenge being in the rare spell slot and also blood to ichor and upgrade, you'll get more triggers for execute,
Yeah, yeah, no, that's
more
true.
one damage ping stuff. That's a thing you'll have to be aware of when playing against warriors.
Yeah. Wacky has asked, is First Mate better or Zombie Chow as a turn 1 play for Warrior when playing as the Warrior?
Mm, it,
In, ooh.
I'd say it depends on the rest of your deck.
Yeah, but yes, and also the matchup.
Yeah.
But both of them are really powerful cards, and you're not trying to have either of them turn 1.
Against pink classes, I definitely prefer the Zombie Chow.
Yeah.
Against non-pink classes, I prefer the First Mate.
Yep, I think that's fair. And we're going to see no Zombie Chows at all in Arena within a week. But we shall move on to that. Heroic Strike, we're going to see that more often. 4 damage, pretty good. 4 damage for 2 mana is pretty swingy.
Yeah.
Slam, we're going to see Slam slightly more often. Again, it's a nice source of card draw. It's not a terrible card at all.
It's also a thing you use
proc
like
execute.
a Taskmaster just to proc execute. Yeah, there's
exactly.
so many 1 damage to a minion cards.
Yeah. So Cruel Taskmaster, we're going to see those slightly less often, being a minion. But
Being a common, yeah.
yeah. Bash, again, that's going to be rotating out with the expansion in 6 weeks or so time. It's Bash. It's what it is. It's all right, but it's not going to be a massive miss, and it's not massively defining as is.
No, definitely not.
Bouncing Blade is going instantly with it being a GVG card. It's not a card we ever played around or ever really played with.
Yeah.
Being an epic, so that's doesn't make any difference at all. King's Defender, you are going to see slightly more often. So although you'll see fewer War Axes, you're going to see more King's Defenders. But that is a TGT card, so that will only last for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah. Did Blizzard say anything about weapons? Are they considering weapons the same as spells for their offering rate?
Don't believe I've had any confirmation. I've looked, but I've not seen anything.
Yeah, I mean a lot of how warrior performs in the meta will depend on will weapons also be offered more often than minions.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I think the word in these was spells, but I'm not sure. So yeah, that's very true. If weapons count as spells, which I assume they didn't because they're not a spell, for the sake of the offering odds, then warrior's going to be in a pretty good spot. And if they don't count as spells because they're not spells, then I think it's going to hurt warrior a fair amount.
Yeah.
Froth and Berserker, you're going to see more often. It's a fairly decent minion. Can definitely just completely change the game. If you can't deal with Froth and Berserker, you can just lose pretty much within a couple of turns. So we're going to see those more often. It's understated, but it's generally not very hard at all to get that up to a competitive stat line. So it's a pretty premium 3-drop for Warrior. When we're discussing 4 health 3-drops, there's not as many of them as there used to be, or won't be as many as there used to be. So it's going to be pretty damn good card, which it already is. Ravaging Ghoul, again, pretty premium card. We'll see this one less often with it being a common. I don't think there's a great deal more.
But nevertheless, with the increased offering odds of the other 1 damage AoE things on Warrior, 1 damage across the board is definitely still going to be something to keep in mind.
Oh, yes, that is something that Warrior's always going to be able to do fairly easily, is 1 damage whirlwind effect. And obviously you've got a slight offering bonus to your executes. Brass Knuckles, so it's one of your epics for Warrior. It's fairly alright card. It's its stat line looks pretty awful for 4 mana, but the hand buffs it all. Like, more I've used it, and I've used it a few times, I've really quite liked it. Like, it feels awful paying 4 mana for a 2/3 weapon, but it actually performs a lot better than it first looks.
Yeah, I haven't had a single warrior draft so far when I got brass knuckles offered, but every time it was played against me, it was a really strong card, because oftentimes the 2 damage help you clear stuff off the board, and getting those hand buffs off, and also having the choice when to trigger them is going to be a big swing and helps warrior a lot.
Yeah, so this is going to be a definite card which is going to fill your epic slot with the offering bonus, which is going to be pretty decent. Despite will be disappearing
immediately.
Instantly. Yep. So, goodbye Despite. It's a super, super good card at the moment. Super good. And that's not going to be a resource for warrior, which definitely needs help at the moment. Mortal Strike we're going to see more often. 4 damage for 4 damage. 4 mana for 4 damage. It's alright. Not particularly great. But we're going to see more of them anyway, so it's a bit more reach for a warrior.
Yep.
I think you'll draft them, but they're far from premium anyway.
Yeah.
Corkborn Elite we're going to see fewer of. So, again, that's going to hurt warriors' ability to be more aggressive, which they generally want to be, or have wanted to be in this meta. So it'll be interesting to see where warrior finds itself in the new meta. Well, it might well not, or does it totally evolve and is it playable with the addition of new spells? Can it become more controlling again? I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will. Arathi we'll see fewer of as well, which is quite often you're quite happy picking an Arathi for the weapon, so it's another pretty good minion that you're going to see less often. Bluetooth Brave, again, pretty decent minion, we'll see it slightly less often.
Yeah.
Arcanite Reaper, again, is a weapon which we're probably going to see less often.
Yeah, and it's a common.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, so basic commons count the same, so we're going to see fewer of them. Again, it's going to hurt. It hurts the current gameplay of the warrior, which means that if warrior's going to stick around, it's going to have to change a lot.
Yeah.
Brawl.
And that's one card that will help the warrior change its playstyle.
That's one card you cannot afford to play around in the arena, unless you have an insane read, like your opponent, I don't know, somehow tells you've got Brawl. You generally don't play around Brawl.
Yeah,
it's wrong.
To tell you he's got Brawl in hand, he basically actually has to call you and tell, "Hey mate, just checking in with you.
I've got
Want
Brawl.
to tell you I've got Brawl."
Yeah. And unless that happens, you don't play around it. So Brawl's not right to play around. Anyone who's played a warrior deck with Brawl knows how powerful it is and knows like how insane it is in arena at the moment, because nobody does play around it. You get a Brawl, it's like a free win card in so many games. You sort of just do your warrior stuff and go, cool, let's play this Brawl thing now. That was a free win.
Shit, we've lost board. Drop this two mana minion. Brawl. Haha, we win!
Yeah,
it's just a very, very strong card, and we're going to see it more often, which definitely leads to a potential more control-y sort of gameplay from the warrior. Which it does look like that's going to have to be how the warrior is going to play if it's to stick around and potentially play well, because it's losing a lot of its more aggressive cards. Tentacles for Arms. Pretty terrible, but you're going to pick it at times.
Well, with getting offered less weapons in warrior at the minute, you're probably going to be picking it a lot more anyway.
Well, and it's going to be offered a lot more as well. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but if you play warrior a lot, there will be times when that'll be the best card offered. Foolsbane we will be seeing fewer of. It's pretty powerful card. It's one of the control-y cards, which warrior has at its arsenal, and I think it's going to stay as a super premium card because it looks like a warrior is going to have to play more control-y and it's going to have fewer weapons. But we're going to see fewer of them. Ali Armor Smith we're going to see more of, and this is probably a card which will help warrior a little bit in its sort of more control-y game, but it's one of those cards you pay 5 mana for a 2/7. It's not awful, but it's far from great. It generally trades down into stuff. It's basically a store card, which might be what warrior needs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what takes you to the late game and can help you stabilize.
Speaking of
this is a big one.
Yes.
Getting offered more gore holes also pushes the LA Armor Smith by a lot.
Yeah.
Because you'll be able to use your face to clear minions a lot more.
Which allows you to pick up your Avengers and your... what's the other one? I can't remember the name.
Your whirlwind effect. So
No, the one.
Yeah, your Mortal Strikes.
Sorry,
yeah.
Mortal Strike and Revenge.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I've got you, yes. Yeah, exactly. So, by the looks of the cards, especially for the sort of next 6 weeks or so before we see the new expansion, Warrior, if it's going to do anything, looks like it's going to be far more controlling. More controlling and far less aggressive.
I'm begging Blizzard now, right now, don't do it so that it's constant armor. That we're going to be playing for 6 hours plus because warriors are just going to be armoring.
No, they'll just die.
Yeah. One more card with Warrior that we'll see less often in the next 6 weeks, and which will leave after the Year of the Mammoth change hits, is Obsidian Destroyer, which is also going to be a big loss for Warrior because it's the late game minion that saves you face damage there and is a really big one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens to Warrior. I'm really hoping if the Lost Secrets of Angora is a balanced expansion, it'll be really interesting to see the sort of cards that they do add for Warrior, especially if they've got sort of a foresight to looking at Arena, because they're sort of a little bit lost by the looks of the cards right now. And it looks like if they do want to do well, they need to play Control, but it doesn't look like they're going to do it too well anyway. I think Warrior's going to really struggle in the next 6 weeks.
Yep.
Really do. Druid, we will see more Naturalizers, which is a card which was generally perceived as really poor, but I know that the Grinning Goat have come out and been a massive advocate for it, and it's something which I think can offer really good swing turns.
Yeah.
So it's a fairly decent card. Mark of the Lotus, we will see more of being a spell. Again, pretty decent card. It sort of rewards a wider board and acts as a snowballing mechanic. But the interesting thing is that we've just seen in almost every class that we've so far gone over is that they've got more AoE, more board clears. So it'll be interesting to see how well snowballing and wide boards work in the new meta.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one because even as a druid, if you're also offered more spells, you're less likely to have the minions to go wide.
Yeah. That is one spell which is also a minion, or 2 minions. So that'll be staying with us for 6 weeks before the Era of the Mammoth changes. Pretty good card, we'll see it more often. It's nice, it's versatile, so we'll be picking up more Living Roots, if we play Druid at all. Wrath, again, solid card, we'll be seeing more of them.
Yeah.
Feral Rage, again, it's a pretty solid card. Being able to deal 4 damage from turn 3 onwards, offer 3 mana is pretty good. You often don't use it for the armor, but 3 mana for 4 attacking Druid's pretty good.
Yep.
Mulch is an epic. We will see this more often. We will see this offered more often. Pretty good.
Until the changes hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So it'll be Druids seeming to find a fair bit more. Well, it'll find its removal more consistently. Swipe, again, everyone knows a swipe. There will be slightly more of them. Maybe slightly more of them. We still don't know how the reduced offering bonus to
commons,
to basics and commons, plus the increased to spells works, but it looks like there'll probably be slightly more. Bite, you'll see Bite more often.
Yeah, it's a rare. It's not a great removal. No. I mean, most of the time it's gonna do the same thing as the Mortal Strike in Warrior. It's for damage. The 4 armor you get basically will compensate for the face damage you take by hitting a minion.
Yeah.
So it's a mediocre card, but it's initiative, which is worth taking the card.
Yeah. It's expensive for what it is.
Yeah.
But it's definitely usable. Savage Combatant. Now this is an insanely powerful card in Arena. Insanely powerful. So we'll be having this with us for another 6 weeks until the Mammoth changes. This is definitely going to help Druid. So far we've seen very few sort of swingy rare. Well, very few swingy minions at all. Very few decent minions we've come across. Savage Combatant is one of those cards we're going to see more often for the next month or two. So that's definitely going to help Druid. Offering bonus to a beast, which also gives you a really, really strong hero power.
The thing with Savage Combatant is it's probably properly statted for 4-drop. So you do want to play this on curve, and it needs to be answered right away. On the other hand, with the more spells over all classes, it's more likely to be answered, because there are more cards that have the initiative to deal with it without having the board.
Yep. Starfall, we're going to see that more often. That's another potential AoE for Druid. And that's something that Druid's never really done very well, is removal. We've seen so many removal cards at the moment which are rares, which we're going to see more often. So I think Starfall's going to be pretty good. It
always was.
Well, yeah, exactly. And it's going to be seen more often, so it's a card that you're actually going to have to look at and play around. Fair enough, you didn't necessarily play around the 5 damage as much, or not necessarily from Starfall, because you had Starfire, which did the same thing, but the 2 damage AoE is something you were always very comfortable going wide against a Druid.
Yep.
And this just gives Druid an answer. So again, yet another class we're seeing a rare AoE, and that's going to be offered more often. So Starfire, like we were just discussing, we'll see slightly more of these. A lot like Starfall, does the 5 damage to a minion, pretty good.
Yeah, but it's really expensive. It's a value card. It does have initiative, but you're not developing anything with it.
Yep. It does look, with the offering bonus to spells, that Druid might struggle a bit to find its place, because a lot of Druid spells are overcosted, like the removals especially are overcosted, and if you're forced into drafting too many of them, you're going to end up quite clunky, because Druid's something which has always wanted minions on board, generally larger, but beasts, and with the few cards which reward a wider board state, it might well struggle to sort of find enough minions to make a decent deck. So again, you're going to see no recycles, with it being a GVG card, so that's just going instantly. Not a card that you saw very often anyway. Ancient of War, that's a big one. We'll be seeing more of these.
Literally.
Yeah. We're going to see more Ancient of Wars. So that's something that Druid... That was old-time Druid, wasn't it? Where you were scared of the Ironbark Protector.
Yeah.
But now you've got many removals, which punish expensive big things. Blast Crystal Potion, such, Siphon Soul, all that sort of stuff. One benefit of Ancient of War is that it's got a lot of health, so if you don't have an instant hard removal, like the likes of Hex or Blast Crystal, Siphon Soul, then it's going to take a lot of getting through.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty decent card. Well, really decent card. Volcanic Lumberer is part of the Blackrock set, so we will see that for another few weeks. Yep, pretty good card. Especially if you can do a few bits of trading on board, you can get it out pretty nice and cheap. So yeah, we'll see a few more Volcanic Lumberers. So we're seeing offering bonuses to big things for Druid.
Yeah.
Which definitely in the past worked well. It'll be interesting to see how it works with more big things now that you're seeing a lot more removals offered.
Yeah.
So that's basically Druid swingy cards gone through. Mage has got a lot of spells, of course, being Mage. We'll see a few more Frostbolts, which, yeah, that's a few more Frostbolts. We'll see no more Flame Cannons, so Flame Cannons going.
Which is a good thing.
Yes. No, I'm fine with that as well. Polymorph Boar, we will see more often, which is something that you don't see very often. So
only for the next 6 weeks.
For the next 6 weeks, yes. I like the versatility of Polymorph Boar. You can use it offensively, you can use it defensively.
Yeah, but oftentimes using it defensively isn't very efficient.
No.
I'm not a huge fan of the card. Using it offensively just to get rid of a taunt, to set your lethal there, is gonna help when the size of the body that's left over doesn't matter. Yeah. But almost every other time using it as a removal, I'll happily pay 1 more mana just to remove 3/1 stats from that one.
Yes, no, definitely, because standard polymorph's a lot better. But if you're seeing these more often and drafting them more often, it just acts as more of a punish for what we've seen from Druid as potentially more big cards offered.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing is with GVG leaving immediately, and also Naxxramas, there are going to be way less death rattles around.
Yeah.
So you will be able to clear minions just with spells that kill them with damage or stuff like that. Will be more efficient, and you won't be as reliant as you are right now on the polymorph effect to get rid of a death rattle.
Yeah, no, I agree on that as well. Volcanic Potion, we're going to see that more often. Yet another AoE tool we're going to see with an offering bonus.
Yeah, and yet another small AoE that comes out early.
Yeah. Duplicate is going.
And it's going immediately.
Yeah, so that's just going instantly. So we're going to lose Duplicate, which is definitely going to be important when playing around spells, is to remember that you don't need to play around Duplicate anymore.
Yep.
And Effigy, come 6 weeks' time, you'll not have to play around either. So unless they bring in another mage spell, which is related to minions, that when you're playing around mage secrets, you quite often do the whole, okay, are we going to have to check the polymorph thing first? Do we check the minion-based secrets first? Do we check the face secrets first? And it just totally omits that minion-based thing. It just makes reading the secret a lot easier, because killing a minion potentially gave you 2 reads in the past, and now you don't even need to do that.
Yeah, but for the next 6 weeks, as long as Effigy is around as a rare and a spell, it's gonna be offered more often.
Yeah.
Duplicate is gone. You can expect Effigy more often for the next 6 weeks. After that, if Effigy leaves, basically the only secret you play around is Mirror Entity and Potion of Polymorph. You play around those in the same way.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it makes generally the quality of mage secrets worse, because all the face ones, other than Vaporize, pretty pointless.
And making the ones that trigger by your opponent just playing a minion, making them the only ones that are worth picking, also removes the effect of the secret of making your opponent's plays awkward.
Because the number is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Although on another note, with all the spell increased offering rate, Counterspell and Spellbender might go up in value.
That's exactly what I was just going to go on to, yeah. Yes. So we're going to see more Spellbenders offered, more Ice Blocks offered, which again, if you can at all help it, don't draft it, because it's really poor. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how playing around secrets changes. I can see it just becoming easier, in all honesty. So there's your Mirror Entity, that's always going to be around. You'll see it slightly more often, or about the same.
But you will pick it less often, because there's no more mad scientist from as soon as the sets rotate. As soon as we go to standard.
Yeah.
So that also weakens the draft of mage.
Yeah.
Because you can't get your secrets for free.
Yeah. Twilight Flamecaller, no problem. There's something that we'll be seeing fewer of again, but we're seeing a lot of sort of 1 damage effects anyway. It's a really nice swingy card, Twilight Flamecaller. I'm not overly upset about seeing fewer of them. I don't think there's a great deal to remark on it, in all honesty.
I think as soon as the set rotation hits and the card pool gets smaller,
then you might stop playing around it again.
Overall will see more Flamecallers then again.
Yes, yeah. It's going to totally differ. Depending on the offering rates for class cards and commons, there's going to be a lot of mathematics involved there. Obviously, you're seeing fewer commons, but seeing more class cards. You're also having the pools smaller, so they're going to turn up more often. So it'll be quite nice if we are actually given numbers by Blizzard at some point in the near future of sort of how they're changing the rates that we're seeing different rarities, and then we can actually put some maths behind it.
Yeah, it's quite hard just going by your gut feeling.
Yeah, exactly. It's speculation, isn't it?
If you speculation, if you want to perform at a high level.
Yes, definitely. Fireball, again, we're assuming we'll see it about as often, slightly more often. Again, this is another thing which we've had to assume, isn't it? That it's a basic card, so we're going to see fewer basic cards, but we're going to see more spells, probably about as often, if not slightly more often.
Yeah.
Kona Cold, again, same sort of thing. It's not a particularly remarkable card, but you'll see about as many, slightly more of them.
I mean, with the reduced card pool, you'll probably see more fireballs than you do right now.
No, I think that's fair. Polymorph, again, super premium card. You see about as often, slightly more. So mages are going to continue doing magey things.
I'd probably pick fireballs over polymorphs from now on.
Because you don't need
because
to get
as I said, you don't need to get play around death rattles, and fireball also gives you reach.
Yeah, that's very fair. Because in the past you've had to play around sludge belchers, all that sort of stuff. Divine shields will still exist, but a lot of those go with the grand tournament as well. So I think that's completely fair way to look at stuff. Is that with the lack of death rattles, polymorph's not going to be quite as insane as it is at the moment. Water Elemental, we're going to see probably slightly fewer of. Still pretty premium card.
I mean, a lot of this is just speculation about the numbers.
Yeah.
How much does the spell and rarity effect influence the drafts with the smaller card pool on the other hand, right?
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting bit. I think the best bit that we can speculate about at the moment is the rares and epics.
Yeah.
The commons basic spells are really difficult to place because you're not quite sure where they're going to sit, if it's going to be slightly more often or slightly less often or about the same. But the rares and epics are the definite important bits because there's the bits that you're going to have to stop playing around.
Yeah.
So Flamelands will be losing that.
So far, basically, ignore that they exist. Yeah.
Yep, so I think I'm quite happy skipping over Dragon's Breath. That will be going with Blackrock. So that'll be leaving in about 6 weeks' time. Yet another mage spell. Conjurer. Conjurer will also be leaving in about 6 weeks' time. That's
going to be card. A big loss.
Yes. Yeah, very big loss. So, that's one option. Blizzard. We're going to see more Blizzards.
Yeah, that's gonna substitute for Flame Strike in a way, which we will see less often.
Yeah, that was the bit I was just about to get onto. Is that because they're reducing Flame Strike's offer odds by 50%, that's a specific thing they're only doing to Abyssal Enforcer and Flame Strike, is reducing them by 50%. Blizzard might well be the new go-to AoE that you play around against a mage. Flame Strike's going to be seen a lot less often than it is. Which means it's going to punish you more often by playing around it. So this is going to be a really awkward one, is that you actually want to play around it less than you do now?
I mean, if you play... you're right. Because you're more likely playing around the smaller AoEs, like the 2 damage from Volcanic Potion, which is a rare, and Blizzard, which is a rare, and leaving your board at 3 or 4 health and going wide is going to punish you even more if they have a Flame Strike.
Draft a Flame Strike, yeah.
So
I think Mages is going to continue to be fairly powerful, but they seem to be... They're losing a fair amount of stuff at the same time. So Firelands Portal, again, common spell. We're going to see those, how often we see them. I reckon it's going to be about the same, if not slightly more often. But like I say,
I hope it's going to be less.
Yeah, I hope it's going to be less as well. I want to see Firelands Portal a lot less. Pyroblast. We're going to see that more often. And it's a spell. Pyroblast's going to be offered substantially more often than what it is now.
Yeah,
We're
and
gonna have to
it's
start
gonna
playing
be
around
a
it.
big thing because
Yes.
you can't feel safe sitting at like 12 to 11 health points against the mage, because he can just ping you twice, stall the game for 2 more turns, and then just finish you off with the pyroblast, which doesn't happen very often nowadays,
Yeah.
but it might in the future.
Yeah, definitely. So depending on the offering bonuses, if we're seeing epics a lot more often, you're gonna get to the point where you literally are gonna have to start protecting your face a lot earlier than you do now versus mage. Like you're gonna have to start being much more proactive on the board in dealing with the mage's minions because that chip damage can add up very quickly if you're seeing a lot more spells. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to mage. It might well become more of a Bernie class, which it's always had the option of that, but you've not seen aggro mage since early days of Hearthstone Arena.
No,
So maybe it'll see a bit more of a resurgence. Priest. So again, we'll skip quite quickly over the commons, the basics, because again they're not going to change a great deal, or we can't speculate a great deal on them. But shields going to be there, pretty good. Potion of Madness. Hopefully we'll see less often. I really hope.
Yep.
But again, we shall see. Pain. Again, very similar. Shrinkmeister is going. So Shrinkmeister will not exist come the end of next week. Velen's Chosen, again, we will not see come the end of next week, so that's going. Death is going to be around, again, pretty premium removal.
Probably slightly more often, but as we said, we don't know yet.
Yeah,
Dark Cultist is leaving.
Is leaving with Naxxramas, so that's going by the end of next week. We're seeing quite a lot of power cards now disappearing.
Yeah.
Cabal Talon Priest is probably going to see a smaller offering bonus with it being a common and not a spell.
Yeah.
But it has got a 3/4 start line, which we've already said is going to be quite important. With the removal of Spider Tank, there's very few 3/4 start lines or 4 health 3 drops going to be shown. So I think premium 3s are going to be worth a fair bit more.
Yep.
So, and Cabal Talon Beast is super, super strong. So that's going to continue to be a decent card. Shadow Madness, we're going to see more often.
Yeah, as a rare and a spell, which will kind of substitute for the loss of the priest's early game and early powerful cards.
Yeah.
Because priests will probably be in an awkward spot, with oftentimes not having a target to hit with your Cabal Talon priest. And you will need to catch up on turn 3, 4, 5 more often.
Yeah, I'm really, really hoping that the common spells are seen less often, because at the moment you feel obliged to play around Potion of Madness, and if you have to play around Potion of Madness and continue to play around Potion of Madness early game and then going into mid game have to start to play around Shadow Madness as well, that's going to be awful. It's going to be so bad. So I'm hoping that the offering bonuses aren't insane enough that you can draft decks regularly with a Potion of Madness and a Shadow Madness in it, because that's just going to be horrendous. But we shall see.
Yeah.
Shadowwood Horror, we're going to see that offered more often. Not a great card, but it's yet another tool for removing small boards, which we've seen many of. So, yeah, it'll get drafted occasionally because you're going to see it more often, but I still don't think it's going to be particularly premium.
Yeah, and it's probably also not a card you will particularly play around.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of doing it anyway by playing around the Potion of Madness.
Yeah. No, I agree. Priest of the Feast, probably see those slightly less often. Super premium card. It'll still exist though.
Yeah, but on the other, it gets better with the addition of more spells to the decks.
Very true.
Right?
Very true. Yes. Yeah. Very true. So yeah, that's potential. Excavate Evil. We will see more of those for 6 weeks or so. Then they're disappearing and rotating out. So that's another AoE that you're going to see more often for Priest, which is good. Or good for Priest anyway. And then that's a whole AoE which is going to rotate out and you'll not see it at all. So that'll be interesting to see how it goes. Holy Nova. We know Holy Nova.
Yeah, but Holy Nova in the meta nowadays often doesn't do enough for the 5 mana if you compare it with other board clear spells.
Yeah.
It's the offering bonus will probably be about the same as a common as a spell, but not a rare. Yeah, so we'll see how Priest will deal with bigger boards, with the cards we'll see soon leaving. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting spot the Priest will be in. I have the feeling that it drops to the awkward position where it was before the MSG expansion.
Yeah, I've got the feeling that as well. It does obviously have the madness effects, but I think it is going to struggle, especially come sort of 6 weeks' time, if it doesn't pick up any more AoE. It's going to struggle to deal with wider boards.
Yep.
Tentacles, again, I don't think there's much to mention on it. It's a common, it's a spell. We're still not quite sure how often it'll show up. Dragon and Operative, we'll see more of those, but there'll be a lot of dragons rotating out with the game.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, at least with when the Year of the Mammoth changes come in, you will lose quite a lot of dragons, including Azure Drake.
Yes,
which has been a staple in the arena for like forever.
Yeah.
We'll see if we can still get the Dragonet synergy running with the new next expansion. Because I don't expect, like, if you look at it from a WoW lore standpoint, there shouldn't be any dragons in that expansion.
All right. Yeah. I was going to say, I don't know a great deal about the WoW side of it.
Well, with them obviously removing Heroes of Warcraft and stuff, that they are, I suppose they are trying to get away from the most lore of Warcraft.
Moving away from being tied in.
Probably might still end up adding more dragons just as a...
I think just to continue the theme, because the problem is with mechs, they didn't continue the theme for such a long time. There was only one mech per expansion after GVG, and it wasn't even one that had a big influence. But with the dragon theme being continued after over like 5 expansions so far, or 4, they'll have to keep it going, because it will feel really weird just making the cut here, having new cards that stick around for another year without any support of the synergy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Exactly it. And I think for the next 6 weeks before the Mammoth changes, Operative's going to be in a pretty nice spot. Following that, it'll be interesting to see. And that'll completely depend on the expansion.
For the arena, this the continuing the dragon theme isn't that big of a deal, because the Dragonet OP is still a decent minion in arena, but for constructive you will have to have the synergy to make a card worth playing in the first place.
If they're putting those synergies in for constructed, it's still going to have that effect on
arena. Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's going to continue to be a pretty decent minion. If nothing else, it's a pit fighter with an offering bonus, so it's definitely not going to be terrible. Song Stealer, we'll probably see fewer of them. It's a pretty powerful card, but I think other than that...
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I still think it's a powerful card, even though the big margin of the death rattles leave. Mm-hmm. But with all the death rattles leaving, what we will see later, Paladin losing a lot of his powerful stuff, but being left with the minion buffs, there's still going to be an incentive to keep picking Cabal Song Stealer for silence.
Yeah, but we are probably going to see it less often.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Onyx Bishop, we will see that more often. So that's a resurrect effect we're going to see. So that'll be interesting.
And the interesting thing about the Onyx Bishop in the upcoming meta will be if there's more spells to deal with stuff. As a priest, you possibly can afford to have less early game. and
Greedy.
therefore get more value from the Onyx Bishop because
That's
lesser small stuff dies and has a chance to be resurrected.
Yeah, no, that's true. So it'll be interesting to see if you can get much use out of that.
Yeah.
Dark Shadow Alchemist, again, pretty. It's a swingy card. We're going to see it probably slightly less often, but
Yeah.
not sure. Holy Fire, you're going to see more often. It's expensive. It's 5 damage reach. It's not terrible. You're going to pick it.
Yeah, but it's reach, which a priest basically doesn't have any besides the terrible Mind Blast you never pick.
Yeah.
Because it only goes face. It's a versatile card. It can help you keep the board, remove medium-sized stuff, and it also can be the 5 reach that no one expects from priest. So, in the future, expect priests to have holy fires.
Yeah. But not light bombs because they're going.
Yeah, and they're going immediately. And this is going to be a huge loss, especially with Excavated Evil also leaving when the Year of the Mammoth changes kick in. That basically leaves a priest with Holy Nova as an AoE, which is vastly overcosted and nowadays doesn't do enough. And that is one of the reasons why a priest was such a bad class in Arena, because they didn't have the tools to deal with slightly bigger whiteboards, and they won't be able to with the loss of the light bomb.
Yeah, although when you're saying it's a loss, we have to remember as well it was an epic and we didn't really see it anyway. That often.
Yeah, I mean, you also it was a super swingy card because it was an epic and nobody played around it
like
for that reason.
Yeah,
right?
not like the Brawl we discussed. It's wrong to play around it, but if you get it, it's like a free win card, which I don't like those cards. I like to be able to know what I want to play around, and actually knowing, if he brawls here, this is insane for him.
Yeah.
But knowing that's the wrong thing to play around is horrible. Going, okay, I'm reading here that I do not want to play into Brawl. But it's Brawl and it's Arena. I am not respecting the Brawl. I'm just going to play as if it doesn't exist. So I think losing those cards is fine. But I think with the increase of epics, if it did stay, it would potentially be it would definitely be a strong card, but it would potentially be something that the priest actually needed rather than just helped.
I mean, losing the light bomb is a big loss for the priest, but I think it's overall good for the game because it's a card you can't effectively play or efficient play around.
Yeah.
Because it's basically impossible not to damage your minions in a way.
It's the right time for it to be taken out.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's going to have the offering bonus.
Priest
is so powerful.
Yeah, priest, as we'll see soon, will still have one bigger AoE. Which benefits from the rarity change.
Yeah.
We'll probably see less entombs as a common, but who knows?
Yeah. So Dragonfire Potion is the AoE, which is definitely going to be benefited by the offering bonus. And I think if you were going to see Light Bomb or Dragonfire Potion, I'd much prefer to see Dragonfire Potion for an offering bonus. So yeah, it's going to be there. You're going to see it more often.
Yeah, it's a thing. You know what to play around. It's just 5 damage. 5 damage is that high of damage for board clear. You basically can't play around it.
Yeah.
But even if you do have bigger minions, it's gonna be hard to stick more than one minion to the board to survive Dragonfire Potion though.
So it's definitely going to be a nice tool for priest.
Yep.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how often it's offered, whether it becomes a card that you need to play around or just a card that you just play around if you can afford it. I think it's going to fall more into that sort of you play around if you can afford it, but you generally can't afford to, so you've just got to hope they don't have it card. A bit like Flame Strike's been in the past.
Yeah.
But obviously in recent expansions, the card pool's been so diluted that you often didn't even play around Flame Strike. So Cabal Shadow Priest, we want to see those more often. That's a super swingy card, so that'll be interesting to see. So it's another premium tier epic for the priest. Enforcers we'll see slightly less often, but I think there's little to discuss with it being common.
Yeah.
Mind Control being a common, probably see that slightly less often.
I mean, it's a spell. You
It's a
take
spell.
it. You
Yeah.
take one if you get offered one, but
Yeah.
you don't want too many of those.
That's very fair. Cool. So that sums up Priest. Few really premium epics there, so it doesn't feel like it's been as punished as say the Druid with its epics. Although then again, the Druid's epics were good. I think depending how often the epics are going to see, like depending on the offering rate of the epics, it's going to really dictate sort of classes and where they sit. Because like we said about Hunter's got super premium epics, so good cards. So it'll be interesting to see where they sit. So Avenge is an Axaramas card, so that's going instantly. That is going to change playing around Paladin Secrets a lot.
Yeah, because basically you don't anymore.
Yeah, you go. Yeah. Is it get down? No.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the only thing you have to worry about.
Yeah. And also Sacred Trial will be rotating out. So that's another secret gone. So you're basically looking, okay, is it a noble sack? No.
Then I don't care.
Do I need to play around Competitive Spirit? No. Cool. We just ignore it. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, especially with a Competitive Spirit, you don't want to leave the Paladin with a whiteboard. You do want to clear his minions, and Avenge was the only thing that kept you from that. Competitive Spirit is a rare and a spell, so they will get offered it more often. But I'm not.
Was that?
I think it was LOE. No, TGT.
So that will be going in 6 weeks' time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going to make Secret Paladins pretty lackluster, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty lackluster. So yeah, Argent Lance again is a TGT, so it'll be staying for 6 weeks. Increased offering bonus to weapons, always nice for a Paladin. The other thing is Paladin likes to go wide, and we've seen almost every class now is seeing AoEs more often. So. Yep. Having an extra weapon is probably not going to hurt the Paladin.
Yeah, and seeing what Paladin is going to be losing, I think it will be in a really bad spot.
I think Paladin's going to struggle as well, yeah. So you're going to see an offering bonus to equality.
Yeah.
Which, is an offering bonus to equality. Shield of Minibot is going.
And that's one of their bigger losses, if not the biggest.
Yep. You're going to see fewer Argent Protectors, with them being a common and a minion. But it's always going to remain as a fairly premium 2-drop. Well, sorry, not as a 2-drop, as a 2-cost card anyway. You don't want to play it on turn 2. It's a fairly premium card because of its versatility and how well you can protect and do trades. Seal of Champions, that will be rotating out soon. Mm-hmm. So we've got 6 weeks with that, and that'll be gone. So that's another Paladin-y card going. Cardhammer is going instantly. So,
and this is a big one. You didn't get it offered that frequently as it is an epic. It's one of the best cards you can get in Arena, no matter which class you are. Yeah. And I'm quite happy that this is moving out of the Arena meta as soon as there's an increased offering rate for epics.
Yeah.
Because it's such an punishing card, which this is a low risk high reward card, which is generally not well designed for Arena, because you're just giving up one attack for the weapon at the mana cost, and getting taunt and shield. You always almost always hit it, and even if you don't, you're not that sad. Just having the weapon there.
Yeah, even just playing on a dude's quite often alright. It's just such a strong card. So yeah, I think this, like you said about the Light Bomb, it's the right time for it to go, especially with the increase of epic odds. So yeah, not too sad to see Cardhammer leave.
Yeah.
Mustafa Battle is also leaving instantly.
Yeah.
So that'll be gone by the end of the week.
No offering increasing for Mustafa Battle there.
Nope.
Which is also a good thing, because it's also one of those cards, if played on curve, it's hard to answer. Although most, as we've seen so far, most classes get also increased offering bonus on their cheap and early small AoEs, right?
Yeah. And the other thing is that there's a Light's Justice hidden in there, which was always nice to get. So you're losing that as well. Rally and Blade, though, we will see a few more of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's another offering bonus to a weapon for Paladin. So Paladin's losing a lot of quality sort of early game, but it's getting an increase of offering bonus to its weapons, which is all right. So that might help them a bit. Scarlet Purifier is going instantly, being a JVG card. So,
but you don't care about it because the stuff he will hit is also leaving.
Going all the death rattle stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Although Peacekeeper will likely see an increased offering odds with it being a rare, so that's an answer that a Paladin has, which is going to see more often. Which is super important because in 6 weeks' time, I think we'll get onto it soon. We're going to lose the Older Man, which is something where that. How does Paladin remove stuff? It doesn't. It sets their attack really low.
Yeah.
So losing the Older Man's going to be a bit of a hit. So at least having an offering bonus on that's going to help.
Yeah, but the other thing with Paladin is, besides Rallying Blade and Peacekeeper, Paladin does have really crappy rare drops as class cards. There's stuff like double the attack of a minion for 5 mana.
Yes.
You don't wanna get offered those cards,
which dilute your pool of decent cards when you're offered them. Yeah. Silvermoon Portal again is a common spell. Like we've said with all common spells, it's all speculation. We're not quite sure if we'll see them slightly more often or slightly less often. I don't think it'll be massively different to what we see them now, though. True Silver Champion, we're going to see less often. Which True Silver Champion's a really, really good card for Paladin, so it's going to hurt them a little bit. Lesson of Kings, again, is one of those basic spells, about the same, so it shouldn't really change much.
Paladin has taken a really big hit, like.
Yeah, I think it is as well. Consecration, again, another one of those basic spells. So, depending on whether we're seeing them more often, I think that's going to mean a lot to the Paladin. If we're seeing basic spells a lot less often, because of the reduced offering rates to basics and commons, it's going to really hurt them.
It's going to be at the bottom of the arena tier classes.
Yeah, because losing like Blessing the Kings and Consecration, and then obviously the True Silver Champions almost certainly going to have a reduced offering rate. They're also premium 4s, or 4-cost cards anyway, which...
So I think for me now, as soon as I was offered a Consecration, I would take it because of the chance of getting...
Equality,
that's the one, yes.
Well, and the other thing is that all classes are seeming to be able to pull their AoE, whereas Paladin might struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Hammer of Wrath, again, basic card spell, not much to say about it. Pretty poor.
I'm not a fan of paying 4 mana for 3 damage. Okay, you cycle it, but not a huge fan. It's not a big tempo swing.
You confused me. I said pretty poor, and you went, really? I don't like it.
Oh, okay. I understood pretty good. Yeah.
No,
okay.
Pretty poor.
Because a lot of lesser experienced players pick Hammer of Wrath as a pretty good card because they see, it does damage to a minion and it draws a card, but it's vastly overcosted.
Really, really expensive, yeah. Murloc Knight will be leaving in 6 weeks' time. We'll see fewer of them up until then. Yeah, Fallen Brother. Salute the Murloc. I know. We shall be losing him. I love the Murloc Knight's art as well.
Captain goes down with his ship. And...
so Old Man, we half discussed this. It's going in 6 weeks or so time.
Good riddance to it.
I think Paladin needs help with removal. I don't know if it is necessarily good riddance.
Of course it is. If you're playing against a Paladin, I do not want to say keep revolving.
If you played during the League of Explorers meta, yes, good riddance to it. That's very fair. But recently, it's actually been really necessary for Paladin to maintain competitive, I would say. This sort of removing cards is something they're struggling to do. Now, Paladin is going to be reliant on hand buffs and out-tempoing and being able to have a bigger board than their opponent just so they can control it on board. There might well seem buffs, especially if they have some added, but even the buffs look like they're not going to be seen quite as often. And you're losing Sealer Champ, stuff like that.
They're losing so many cards that are in my American Paladin arena.
American Paladin arena?
Or
NA?
Yeah, me NA.
I thought you drafted a deck which had an American theme to it.
I've got Ultimates, I've got Coghammer, I've got Consecrate. Oh, it's going to be fantastic when we play that.
Oh, I understand. Yes. We've saved a draft since the LOE meta, which is full of these cards which are rotating out. So we will play that once once the new expansion hits and they've all gone.
When people are playing around Keepers.
I forgot about that, yeah. I was getting confused when you said you're American Paladin. I know exactly what you mean now. Yeah, very true. So any closing notes on Older Man? It's going, it's good.
Going, gone.
It's a good card, it's a shame it's going for Paladin because it's going to struggle.
Yep.
Enter the Colosseum. We'll see this more for 6 weeks and then not at all.
Okay.
It's not a great card. It's an AoE, kind of. Ish.
Yeah. It's expensive.
It's
expensive. Oftentimes doesn't do what you want it to do.
Yeah. But it's going to exist, and you'll probably end up taking it here or there.
Yeah.
Because other options might be crap. Protector, insane card. Seen it more often. Really good.
Yeah.
Is it enough
but
to
I
help
don't
Paladin?
think. Yeah, I don't think it's enough to keep Paladin in the at least tier 2 classes.
Yeah.
Paladin is gonna really struggle.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way, that it's going to really struggle. So yeah, that's pretty much all the swingy Paladin cards which currently exist. Most of them are going. Yeah. And on to Rogue, which is penultimate, because we've got neutrals to do afterwards. So Rogue, backstab again. This is the whole problem speaking about it, because it's a basic and it's a spell. It's probably about same, slightly more, slightly less, we don't know. It's a backstab, it's going to be good. It's not going to change much. So Deadly, same story. Sap, same story. Betrayal, same story. Eviscerate, same story. So a lot of rogue cards which are good, which we've seen so far, are still going to exist, and they're probably going to exist about as often. So it doesn't feel like it's going to hurt Rogue at present. Jade Shuriken, again. Only City Huckster. Pretty good card. And a rare.
You'll see it more often.
We'll see it more often. This is helping Rogue so far. Fan of Knives, same story as the others. Petition's Blade. Card which will not rotate, is insanely strong, and is a rare. It's going to help the Rogue. Yeah. Rogue's currently looking pretty happy. Shadow Strike, again, same story. It is a common. It's pretty good. You'll see it. It'll be fine. SI7 Agent will not rotate out. Super strong card. And it's a rare. Rogue's starting to feel really quite good right now. Anyone else agree?
Yeah.
Sabotage is gone. And it was an assassinate anyway. Yep.
Yep.
Sharp Sword Oil again is gone. So, and I don't think you were playing it much in this meta anyway. In the past you might have, but it was never that premium. Assassinate, same story with the rest of them, is a basic card. You'll still see it.
And Assassinate becomes better with the Death Rattles rotating out.
Yes, definitely.
Because you can use it to remove stuff from the board you want to get rid of, and don't worry about a minion of almost the same size popping out of it.
And with the lack of Death Rattles, your premium minions are now going to probably be sticky stuff with Divine Shields.
Yeah.
So something's got Divine Shield, which you pin.
Really good to remove it with just one card without having to deal damage first.
Yeah, so Assassinate's going to be pretty good still. Better. And this card for 6 weeks. Holy Lord, for 6 weeks, the Rogue is going to be something monstrous. Offering bonus to Skulker, we've seen all the basics and commons. Rogue's going to be pretty good. It will depend partially on how the meta goes, and if you're seeing less early game, which you're probably going to see, Rogue might struggle to utilise its early game, but card quality wise, there's some really good cards in there.
Yeah,
so,
they're basically not losing any cards. All their a lot of their power cards are getting increased offering rates by being rare, Lotus Assassin's also pretty good card. I'm glad to see that more often, although Rogue does have quite a few awkward epic cards.
Yeah.
But this one's one you definitely want to pick.
Yeah.
No, pretty good. Stranglethorn Tiger with stealth, and then can kill stuff and still retain its stealth. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Kidnapper, again, it's pretty good. It's potentially it's a sap with the combo activator. Pretty good.
Yeah, and have with all those cheap spells, probably having increased offering rate, although they're common, you'll have an easier time to activate the combo on the Kidnapper and get a big tempo swing out of it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all the swingy cards for Rogue. So Rogue's going to massively depend on how the meta changes. If it can still utilize its early game stuff to get in control of the board, and if there's enough sort of still high tempo play going on, I think Rogue's going to be really strong. But if it's a bit more off the board playing, a bit slower, it might well struggle. Yeah. So it's going to really depend on the meta, which is
also depending on the offering for the neutral spells.
Yes, that will also affect it. So right, let's quickly blast through the neutrals. So we're going to see more Wild Pyros.
With a lot more offering of spells as well, which is going to be quite good.
Yeah, there's some potential combos there.
Well, to some extent.
Yep.
He's going to fuck you over quite a few times.
Maybe. Recombobulator is disappearing pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
So that's gone, but it was an epic, so it's not something you massively miss anyway. Garrison Commander will stay for 6 weeks or so. You'll see more of them. It's a 2-drop with an offering bonus. You'll quite often pick it and just play it as a 2-drop, because I think you might struggle to find 2s in this new meta.
Yeah. That's one thing we already talked about off stream, that with the increased offering rate on the rares and epics, you'll be more likely to pick 2-drops from those card pools.
Yeah.
And getting 2-drops with weird effects that don't activate in the early game, you'll most likely have just plain 2-3s in the early game, but with an upside in the late game, or mid to late game. Despite having 2-drops that are stickier, you have right now like Haunted Creepers, Nerubian X. Okay, you don't draft the X if you don't have activators for them, but also there will be lesser 2-drops that do additional stuff than bringing a body on turn 2.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Doomsayer, it's going to be, it's potentially, if you're looking at a slower meta, it's going to be one of those cards which is pretty playable.
Yeah, it's going to be like pretty much an auto pick now with...
I'm not sure if it would be pretty much an auto pick.
I mean...
It depends on your draft and stuff, but you definitely can find decks where it'll be viable. You're going to have more spell offers, you have more opportunity to draft more control decks. Yep. Cobra, we'll see more of them.
Yay.
Pretty good Cobra. If you can protect one. It's an alright 3-drop, substatted, but it kills anything that attacks it. There's going to be plenty of removal, which can probably take it out. But, yeah, we'll see them slightly more often. MCT. We're going to see this card more often.
We're back to that spot.
It's a rare. We're back to the place where you play around MCT all the time again. I think it's going to depend how often you see rares, but you're going to see rares about as often as you see commons once the expansion hits. So playing around MCT is going to become a thing again. Yeah.
But you'll probably do it anyway with the knowledge of all that small AoE stuff.
Yes. That is true, because there's going to be so much small AoE, Saboteur will be here for the next 6 weeks. It's standard 3.
It helps you just fill the 3 slot with Spider Tank and stuff leaving.
Yeah.
And also with lesser early drops and increased spells, people are more likely to want to use their hero powers.
Yeah,
especially a shaman's fishing for spell damage and stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it'll be rotating out with the Inspire cards. So it's Blocking of a hero power will be leaving whilst all the cards which benefit from the hero powers are leaving at the same time. Lights Champion, again, is a 3-mana 4/3, which is going to be dropping out in 6 weeks' time. Which, its Battlecry read nothing at all up until Warlock became super prevalent in the meta, and it still reads often nothing at all, but sometimes something really cool.
It basically reads deny
Imp
your
A 1/1.
opponent a 1/1 from Imp Gang Boss.
Yep. Blood Knight. We'll see this more often. We just
And
discussed.
this is gonna be a big thing playing around Blood Knight with all the death rattles as sticky minions rotating out.
Yeah.
There will be more. The sticky stuff will have divine shields on them.
Yep.
And picking a Blood Knight that hits more than he doesn't is gonna be a huge deal. You'll probably pick this over most other epic cards in the future.
Yeah, it's going to totally depend on how often we see epics offered, but we know we're going to see them more often. So this is going to become a pretty premium card. Because like you say, if you want sticky stuff, and when you're drafting, when you see something, like quite often now, you're drafting, you go, I want something sticky right now. I want that card because it's sticky. I want this card because it's sticky. So your premium cards, your sticky cards are going to be Divine Shield. So if you can eat a Divine Shield, even just one, is absolutely insane. So yeah.
So remember, kids, ping your Divine Shields as much as possible now.
Yeah, ping your
You don't want them on board.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If the offering bonus is high enough, playing around Blood Knight will be really interesting.
And playing with Blood Knight? Oh.
Yep. Shade Naturamas going by. Yep.
I like the shade.
Yeah. I mean,
Naturamas
you
card.
didn't really see it anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Violet Teacher will see a slight offering bonus increase, and we're
Which
seeing
is
a hell of a
really
lot more
good.
spells.
yeah. Right.
Token generation, just in time to be eaten by small removal AoE. But yeah, so this is going to be a really good card now. You're seeing a lot more spells. It's a pretty alright body anyway for 4 mana, with a really strong effect if you can chain a few
And even if
spells.
they want to use the small removal, board removal, anyway, once you've done a couple of spells, you just keep going. You just keep casting your spells, and they're like, fucking stop it. And you're like, no.
Yeah, so
Have more 1/1s.
yeah, no, Teacher's going to be pretty
Yeah.
good, I would think.
Yep.
Handsome Meccano is a TVG. It is going. Goodbye.
It's going to be a miss. I love the enhancement.
Sludge Belcher is an Naxxramas card. It is also leaving. Goodbye.
Which is also again that goes in line with Psychotron and Sunwalker
Yes.
being
taunts.
your go-to taunt in the mid
Exactly.
game.
And both have Divine Shields going back
Yep.
onto the Blood Knight. Yeah. So yeah, that was the thing. Is this was your sticky taunt because it had Death Rattle. It's going. So yeah, Psychotron, Sunwalkers, Divine Shields, keep away from Blood Knight. Zerdrake also going. It's getting Hall of Famed and raptured off to.
Think they're going to put a crown on it?
Yeah, living on the farm upstate.
Yep. Kodo, we'll see a few more Kodos. So, as well as the vast amounts of offering bonus for small removals, there's also single small removal. Pretty good swingy card. It feels like the meta's going to slow a lot.
Yeah.
It feels like
It
the
does.
meta's really going to slow. So that'll be interesting to see. Which a slower meta, I'm not sure how it'll work for Rogue. If it's just quick enough that the Rogue can just exploit its tempo start and get in there, it'll be insane. But like we said,
to slip under. They might just be able to slip under with the hero.
With
power,
the
with everything
aggro rogue going,
Yeah.
just aggro control drafting aggressively statted minions, using its spells to remove your opponent's stuff and going face a lot, closing out games like turn 7 or 8.
and funny enough, the other class that we discussed, aggro control and potentially being strong, was Hunter, which is very
exactly.
similar. So it feels like it's generally going to be a slower meta, with two classes which can slip under the meta, being Rogue and Hunter. So I'm not sure whether they'll necessarily dominate the meta, those classes, but I think they'll be competitive, definitely.
Yeah.
So I would quite like to see a meta which is where you have your sort of aggro decks are pretty much matched as often as your control decks, because generally you sort of hit your tempo-y thing where either control works or aggro works.
Yep.
Do you know, it'd be nice to sort of have a world where they're sort of both seen fairly often, but obviously it's going to be quite tight. Bomb Lobber's going.
You will be missed.
You will be missed. But yep, that's going to go next week.
Even more.
Matter Bomber is going next week. Yep.
No
Good
more
riddance.
fun.
Good riddance to Matter Bomber. I hate that thing.
Our quotes will become void soon.
No, Mad Bomber will still be here. Bomb Squad. Yeah. Bomb Squad's going to stay around.
And it's going to have an offering bonus.
It is.
More
is it going to be as premium as it has been? It's been pretty premium in past because you struggle to pick up removal. We're going to pick up spells fairly often.
No, it won't, because the thing Bomb Squad does, you can do with spells.
Yeah, exactly.
And if your opponent also has more spells, he's more likely to deal with this without having the board and just getting free 5 face damage.
Exactly. So Bomb Squad's been really useful in classes. It might still be useful in Paladin, which is struggling to remove anything at all, ever, by the looks of it, going into the next sort of meta. But generally, Bomb Squad's not going to be... Priest as well. I think Priest will still like it, because Priest's got a lot of commons, and it struggles with direct damage, or it overpays for it. So I think Priest, Paladin will still see use from Bomb Squad, but other than that, every class just goes cool. I'm actually seeing my spells that I would have picked over Bomb Squad, and I'm actually going to pick them now. So, yeah, like you say, Bomb Squad just acted as I can't find my spell here, I'll just take that. Second Rate Bruiser. That's a card which benefits from wide boards. We've seen a lot of cards which reduce wide boards. Which
also, for us, means that with an offering bonus on Bruiser, we'll even have to talk Walker out of it more often.
We're going to have to argue with Walker far more often.
It's not even so much that, we're going to be picking it more often.
But yeah, we're going to see more Bruisers. Spiked Hog Rider, we're going to see more of those. It's a fairly alright minion, well-rounded.
I've found it really, really enjoyable and good.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't think there's anything massive to say about it. It's not like it's not like the Blood Knight where you go, holy shit, this thing's gonna be massive, but it's gonna exist.
And with the support of spells, it's quite an alright card, because you can play it in the late game to trigger the charge when your opponent does have a taunt.
Yeah.
You can remove the taunt and still utilize the charge on it.
Yeah. So yeah, it'd be quite interesting to see. And the other thing is, your sticky taunts are going to be the ones. They're not necessarily going to be death rattles, stuff like that. Now they're going to be stuff more likely to have divine shields. So
you steal the divine shields and slam them. Hog Rider in. Perfect.
Yeah. Corrupted Healbot is going to see an offering bonus. Again, like we said, it's going to feel like it's going to be a bit slower meta. This adds to that potential of a slower meta. It's sort of powerful thing for board control, but then heals face again. I think fairly unremarkable. Alright card, we'll see it more often. Burglary Bully. So the epics, which are going to be the interesting ones, because we're actually going to see them now.
And you'll get a lot of coins from it.
Yeah, which is potentially pretty good with some spell classes.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Fel Reaver is going. It's a mech, GVG, gone next week. Argent Commander, we'll see more of those. Its reach, it acts a bit like...
I'm alright with seeing more Commanders.
We're seeing quite a lot of potential reachy stuff. When you look at your more aggressive decks,
that's what you do want in those aggressive hunter decks that go face with their 6-drop and still have something on the board that needs an answer, and probably more than just one card to deal with it, and then topping out with the Call of the Wild,
because that's got or Gladiator's Longbow. Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think Rogue's going to really like it as well, because I think the playstyle for Rogue and Hunter are both going to suit it a lot. Sunwalker, so again, like we were mentioning, we're going to see more of those. So your Divine Shields are going to be the new death rattle-y sort of sticky
the new
things.
Old death rattle.
Yeah. Again, Blood Knight, watch out. Mortlurker, more of those. No, thank you.
This is gonna become even worse than it is right now. It's a pretty shit card right now, with all the Warlocks doing both-sided board clear stuff.
Yeah.
But with all those spells, what's the point in paying 6 mana to remove your opponent's minion if he can get it instantly back at full health with a spell for
exactly.
like
Divine Shield.
1 or 2 mana?
Exactly. What the Moat Lurker did is it was in the meta where you had fewer spells. The Moat Lurker was like the Bomb Squad. It was that kind of don't have a spell for it, but I can
face. I can get lethal next turn.
Yeah, it was. I don't have a spell. This kind of acts as a spell, even though I like it less than the spell. But I don't have an option, so I'll take it. Now you just take a spell.
Yeah.
Because we're going to see them. Cool. That's done.
Can be helpful though if they use their Divine Shield minion at trade.
Oh, look.
They then trade it back off. You then play your Blood Knight and be like, yeah, you shouldn't have done that.
Speaking of Divine Shield, here's a potential another Divine Shield, which will stay for 6 weeks. I think it's not a great deal to discuss on it. We'll see it slightly more often. It's going soon. Corrupted Seer, yet another offering bonus to something which does AoE. Small AoE. We will see yet more small AoE everywhere.
Yep.
Coda Rider will stay for 6 weeks. It's going to have an offering bonus.
It'll be fun whilst it lasts.
Yeah, it's pretty good sort of win condition for a deck, but it's also slow, which again leads to the fact that we're seeing as what's potentially going to be a slower meta. Defias Cleaner, silence a minion with Death Rattle, of which there's about 6 left. So yeah, it's a 6 mana 5/7. It's less often you're going to get a swing.
Oh, I like that. We should think about changing the name of the.
Curveball has just been thrown. For those of you who can't see the Twitch chat, we've just had the Merman and the German posters. Wonderful. So yeah, Defias Cleaner is going to be pretty. Yeah.
It's. I mean, it's still okay.
5/7.
It only lacks 1 stat over the ogre, the boulder fist ogre, which is still kind of okay for the potential to some silence. But yeah, with all the death rattles leaving, it's definitely not as valuable of a card as it was in the past.
Oops. You're gonna have more Moat Lurkers. You sound your Moat Lurker. Sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second. Let me just change this over and we will continue. Where's it gone?
Give me just a minute. I'll be right back.
No problem. So what we'll flick through when Boris comes back is we've got a list for each class and the cards that they will be winning and losing, keeping and losing. So what we've got, let's start with Druid.
We have literally just went through all these cards.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just to sort of show it so you can see it quickly. So what we'll do is we'll post this document with this. We'll make a link on Twitter and we'll post it to YouTube and such. So it's basically got what we've discussed.
Yeah.
The cards, what's
The mana
leaving, what's
costs,
staying.
When
So you
it's
can,
going.
so you can quickly see the swing cards and how it's going to affect. So you can see the likes of there with Druid, you're losing Mulch, Living Roots, come the new standard. And instantly you are just going to lose Recycle. You can see here, Shaman will be losing quite a few cards. So where are we at? Are we going to wait for Boris?
Yeah. Whilst we're waiting, what do you reckon is going to be top class then?
Oh, I think it's going to be really tight. I really don't know. It feels like it's going to be a slower meta.
I think it's going to be a toss-up between Hunter, Rogue and Druid.
I really don't feel Druid.
I don't, but with Beasts and with still a lot of stuff staying in with Beast Energy in Druids, I think it's going to be viable again. Beast Druid is going to make a comeback, I reckon.
I think the way that... is this looking at them after Ungaro or like instantly?
After Ungoro.
Has standard for Arena been announced for sure? It has, yes. It will be coming within the next week. Yeah. By the end of February, the Arena will be standard.
Wednesday, probably.
Probably. So yeah, that's just what we've gone over. Is within a week, Arena will be standard. There will be an offering bonus to spells. There will be an offering bonus to rares and epics, and a slight one to legendaries. So we're going to see more rares and epics. We're going to see more spells. We're going to see only standard cards. Massive changes, which is what we've just been discussing. Massive changes to Arena. Massive changes to the meta. And then when the next expansion comes out, The Lost Secrets of Ngoro, there's going to be a complete different change up again because standard rolls over and you get a new standard set. So we're going to have a mini meta in Arena for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. Sometime sort of late March, early April, I'd assume will be the expansion. So yeah, we're going to have a small intermediate meta, which is going to be crazy, like so crazy. We're just discussing stuff like if the epic offering bonus is high, you're going to see Blood Knights, and your sticky minions now because you're losing Nax Ramas are going to be Divine Shield. It's going to be really, really funky. So we'll about get our head around that. And just as we're figuring it out, we'll go, cool, new expansion. BlackRock's gone. League of Explorers is gone. TGT's gone, and then we're going to have to start all over again. So I'm really looking forward to the next 6 months of Arena. Really looking forward to it. Welcome back, Boris.
Yeah.
We're just discussing how much we're looking forward to, well, I'm looking forward to the next 6 months of Arena. The fact that we've got 6 weeks come start of next week, we're getting standard. 6-8 weeks is going to be crazy, getting used to the Arena, and then they add another standard. And we start again. It's going to be so fun.
Yeah, it's going to be basically like 2 months of getting used to completely new metas and environments.
Yeah, well, it'll probably be, at least 2 months. Because you're going to have about a month and a half.
There's going to be so many different metas as well. Like, as soon as Ngoro comes out, there's going to be, like, the first 2 weeks, you're going to be trying to sort every single...
No, I'm really looking forward to it. So this is great. So yeah, we've just I've just shown people the spreadsheet for those who can see, and we'll post links with the spreadsheet as well, so people have got access to all the bits that we've just gone over. And obviously, we'll upload this to YouTube, so anyone who's tuned in halfway through, if you want to sort of hear our thoughts, you can tune back in and watch that. What are you feeling for what are going to be the power classes, Boris?
Probably Rogue, because it always was one of the top classes. It's not losing anything. It also did have a hard time dealing with those sticky death rattle minions.
Yeah. Which are gone.
So that's a plus for the Rogue. Yeah. Also, Rogue does have pretty good cards, class cards in the rare spot. And I mean, the ones we showed were just the swingy and good ones, but the rest of the rare rogue cards aren't terrible, and that's the big thing, because a lot of classes that have good rares and epics, which are gonna be offered more often, also have really awful ones.
Yeah.
So that's somehow a risk Rogue doesn't have.
Yeah.
And
Rogue also has its own 2-drops.
Yeah.
And 3-drops, which are 2 slots that we've seen a lot fewer cards in 2 and 3. And
and Rogue also doesn't desperately need to, because it just can dagger up.
Yeah.
Right?
No,
and I think the other big winner will be the Hunter, which is great, because I think in Arena, Hunter is one of the harder classes to play, despite the general mentality, which mostly comes from the ladder experience, which is Hunter just hit face and win. Yeah. In Arena, it's really hard to find that exact spot when to transition your game from controlling the board, conserving your minions, to going face, because every point of damage to the face might matter in the long run.
Yeah.
So it's one of the more skill demanding classes, and I'm really happy to see Hunter with a lot of good rares.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also those premium epic cards.
Yeah.
Getting 1 or 2 Call of the Wilds and multiple Savannah high
Yeah.
mains in Hunter draft. It's going to be amazing. And with all the removal they have and also will get offered more often.
Yep, and it's got
I
class
think
cards in 1 and 2.
the mid-range / control hunter could be a thing. And again, you'll have to figure out when to transition to face damage,
Yeah,
how to flip the switch. Right, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the things that makes Hunter very highly skilled in Arena, is that flipping the switch and actually willingly relinquishing board control is really hard to get right. And if you do it perfectly, it can make the class really good. But if you miss it, you either end up doing too much trading on board, you can't finish out the game, or you go too early and you lose the board and can't finish out the game. It's one of those highly skilled things where you need to try to fiddle in the damage whilst doing just enough to maintain a bit of board presence. So I think Hunter is a really highly played thing. And I think, like you were saying, Rogue and Hunter feel like they're going to be fairly strong. It's got that aggro control feel to it. And a lot of the other classes look like they are setting up more for control, or at least sort of slower, because there's a lot of sort of AoEs going to be offered, that sort of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how it pans out, whether they can get under it or whether they're going to be completely locked out by it. But I can see definitely a war between the aggro control sort of drafts for Hunter and Rogue playing into the slower drafts for the other classes. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Overall, I think the hardest hit does Paladin take.
Yeah.
Because Paladin is losing so much power cards, and a lot of it will depend on how the distribution on common spells will be, and if it will be able to stick stuff to the board to use it buffs. Because if that's not the case, Paladin's dead, and it's in a really bad spot anyway. With all that, if spells are offered more often, their hand buff mechanic doesn't work as good as in other classes, because Paladin wants to have more minions in hand than like Warrior or Hunter, which only buff a single minion, and you don't care if you're only holding one minion and the rest of it is spells, but Paladin can't utilize its hand buffs anymore.
I've just flicked up the database on the screen as well as a response to chat asking about Paladin. Yeah, so we're losing Avenge, Argent Lance, Coghammer, Muster, Shield and Minibot, Scarlet Purifier, all those instantly. And within 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is for the new expansion, you're going to be losing Seal of Champions, Enter the Colosseum, which isn't a massive loss. Murloc Knight, Keeper of Uldaman is massive. There's so many premium cards going. Unless Paladin gets a lot of love in the next expansion, it's going to be hurt. It's going to really hurt.
And the other big loser, I think, will be Druid. If you could pull up the Druid sheet. Yeah, because a lot of the Druid spells that are powerful are commons. And also, I think Druid has struggled in the past year to find its spot in the arena.
I still personally think Druid's going to be someone to watch out for. Druid's not losing much to do with this beast synergy and stuff, and there's going to be a lot of beasts for Ungoro.
Often, okay, that is true. It depends on the expansion.
a lot of how Druid will perform will depend on what cards it will get with the next expansion. But right now, the faster Druids are better than the big taunty ones.
Yeah.
And
they're going to get locked out by the
they're
AoE.
gonna get locked out by the cheap early AoEs.
Yeah.
So
I'm feeling the same. I'm interested to see what they do with Druid, because I think Druid's been on Blizzard's radar as a class which does need a bit of love.
I think Druid, it's about time Druid does get a little bit of love towards it. Like.
Yeah, to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see Druid and Hunter get a helping hand with the Lost Secrets, and they're two classes which kind of have needed it for a little while. So that'll be interesting to see how they do that. But I think for this intermediate meta, they're going to really struggle. And definitely for the intermediate meta, because they've got offering bonuses on epics and stuff and rares to your Lumberers, your Ancient Wars. They're the stuff which dies to all of the offering bonuses to stuff like Siphon Soul, Blast Crystal, Polymorph, etc., etc. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. What's your point on Mage?
It shouldn't be in the game.
Mage is going to be interesting. I think Mage is going to be fairly meta dependent. It's got a lot of the control-y stuff still, but it's going to have half as often it's going to see flame strikes. So Blizzard's going to be its go-to.
Potentially, anyway.
Wide
Still a
removal. It's got volcanic
We
potion.
don't fully know yet.
I really don't know. It's going to struggle with minions, I think, a little bit. But Mage has always sort of been one of those classes which could
Mage
do
can
all right
get
off
by
the board.
without, yeah.
And now it has the option to, because it's getting the offering bonus to its spells.
Yeah.
Losing Conjurer once the Lost Secrets of Ungoro is going to be pretty nasty for it. Losing Flamelance Dragon's Breath, they're going to be big losses to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also you have to keep in mind, we didn't list it here, but the Twilight Flame Waker? Yeah. The
Flamecaller.
Flame. No, the other one that shoots random stuff when playing spells.
Yeah, Flame Waker. Flame Waker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Flame Waker. That one's also leaving when the new expansion comes
Yes,
out,
with Black
which is one of the cards that gets the
Benefits
most
from the
benefits from the addition of more spells, right?
That's true. That's something we
And
we'll
also
add to the
is
list.
a rare, so that's one card that's gonna be good for the next 6 weeks or so. But after that, a lot will depend on what Mage is getting, because with the additional offering of spells, you'll also quite often get offered secrets, which are basically not great in Mage, except duplicate or effigy. If you're going for that late game value Mage thing where you drop a taunt or something your opponent has to remove and you get multiple copies or at least a substitution for that one, and those will be gone. And you don't want to see ice barriers, ice blocks, and stuff in Arena, which will dilute your draft by quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. Right, I think before we go to the inspirational quote, I think we'll go to our real knit-in topic, which I think was going to be a little bit of a discussion about where we're going to go with this in the future. So this has been super, super long. And I know some people aren't interested in Talkstone. But yeah, what have we been going? We've been going for 2.5 hours here, but this has been massive. There's been so much stuff to discuss. But I think we might look at regularly doing sort of this sort of podcast as a regular segment, maybe weekly, fortnightly, probably weekly. I think I'd quite like to do that. So if we've got any feedback from chat or people watching it on YouTube or whatever, that would be really very much appreciated. What sort of stuff you would like to see. But I think I'd look at keeping it probably about half an hour tops, usually. Something like that. We'll be fairly light-hearted, a little bit of discussion about what's happening in the arena, bit of dicking about. Also, we want to do a lot of reviewing games, so we'll review a draft and a few games from a run we've done, and say why we made certain choices. We've got a Hunter draft we did a while ago, which ended up with stuff like Border Spiders, Infest. It was really weird. It ended up like Out Control and Priest. I really want to do that, so I think next week we'll do a review of some of the games from that and the drafting of that, and why we took crazy cards because of the way the draft was going. And we could also look at potentially doing sort of reviews of other people's drafts and other people's games. So I know Zeros to Heroes, which I'll post a link alongside this, is a site which allows you to upload replays of your games and your drafts where they can be commented on. And we'll run through, like I say, a few games or a draft in every one of these that we do, just as a little bit of sort of talking to the community and discussing stuff. And it's really good to have like you guys here listening and being able to discuss what did you think the right players were, what did we think. So yeah, I think that's really valuable. Just in time, what we're just talking about where we're going with the podcast and such and how it's going to go. We're reeling it in. So yeah, Boris, have you got any words you want to add or other stuff to discuss?
Yeah, I mean, you already said it. We wanted to be somehow educational, but still fun thing.
Definitely.
Also, we do want to have a little change from just playing the arena. I mean, in the past few weeks, we streamed together like 4 to 5 nights a week. So we'll have a lot of matches, that
We can go and
might be
analyse.
worthy to discuss or analyze. And I think we can do that in a quite educational way that is still entertaining and fun to watch for the people.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
vote so as well. Have you got any other?
You've probably said everything.
Probably in your absence.
Yep.
Yeah. We're
yeah.
generally open for suggestions if there are topics you are interested in or like stuff you want to hear more about. I mean,
Absolutely.
the thing we did today was just a thing for the upcoming expansion, and even the length of the podcast was just because there was so much stuff released,
so much
news
stuff.
released this week. But with the new release schedule from Blizzard being like 3 big expansions a year, we'll probably do another big thing as soon as all the cards are announced.
Yeah.
Like all the well-known streamers do card by card analysis. Yeah.
When will the expansion be out? Asked Stucky. We're not certain yet, but it's likely to be late March, early April sort of time. Maybe maybe up to late April, but
I'd expect it to be in April
Yeah.
after the spring season of leather is over, because that's a 3 month rhythm.
Yeah, and also you don't want to be ruining the preliminary stuff like that, changing cards in the middle of the competitive scene.
Oh, that'd be perfect.
Yep.
That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. Watch everyone panic.
But so what I think the other thing is, I think we can bring a lot over the next few weeks, especially with the development meta. Next week the meta is going to be something that hopefully some of the stuff we predicted will be in place. There'll be some stuff we didn't even think about will be there, so that'll definitely be there to discuss next week without a doubt. And I think every week we can sort of learn and share what we've learned, because like we were saying, for the next 4 to 6 months, Arena is going to be learning so much every day. Like, it's just the meta. After you're literally going to be learning one meta, and just as you think you're about there, boom, new one.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. So yeah, we'll share that with you guys. Does anybody have any closing words before we have our inspirational quote?
I think we'll leave the inspirational quote as the closing words. Beautiful enough as it is.
Okay, Walker, would you like to provide the inspirational quote of the week?
Our inspirational quote of the week is: "The innovated out tall strider catches the mana worm."
Right.
Good night, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Good night.